Renee, so much for coming.
Thank you for having
Um,
me.
we are here just to have a casual conversation with our girl. All right. There is no main plan for this evening. We're just going to have a good time and just kick it with the fabulous Renee. All right. So
Yeah.
here's the credits. Let's just get this sucker started. Okay. Well, I am Kyle Petty, and I am joined by my bestie, John. Gina is out tonight. So sorry, so sorry. So she gets to miss all the hype. But this is Strat Chat. You can find us on the socials at Strat Chat Pod or on our little fancy website that I will eventually update, stratchatpod.com. And here we have the fabulous Renee. You look amazing. The light is just
Yeah.
beaming, bouncing off your fabulous face. Your hair is on point. For our audio only fans, you're missing it. Um, audio only fans, yikes. But looking fantastic. Thanks so much for joining us. How are you?
I am great. Thank you for having me. I'm glad we finally got in touch and we could be here. I'm super excited.
It is about time.
Oh,
It's about time.
Yeah. It feels like we're in the presence of royalty a little bit here, you know?
It does.
Oh my God. More. I needed this today. I was like, when we woke up, I was like running around. I was like not feeling like the royalty, but thank you.
No. Thank you so much for being here. Especially after you just celebrated a milestone birthday. Is that correct?
I did.
You did. Happy 25th. How was it?
It was amazing. I'm finally 25. I called myself 25 in the house and they were all like, you're not 25. And I was like, I am 25. It's like in the same year. Like what's the difference? But yeah, it feels good. It was such an amazing birthday. My best by far. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's you. For you.
It was actually amazing. It was so great. I had a great time and I'm so happy that everyone was able to make it out.
So who came out?
Okay, well, I had my inner circle, my besties of the besties from like high school and like my childhood best friends come out. My family was there. My parents partied it up for a little bit. My coworkers, and then I also had some castmates there. I had John Michael, Daniel C, and Ty. And I had a FaceTime drop in from Kuzi.
Really?
Yeah, all the birthday messages and love from the cast. It was awesome. It was so great. It was just I love getting to be with all my friends in one spot. And everybody had a great time. We were like dancing with napkins on the table. We were living our best lives. I almost fell off the bench. So, it was a good time.
That's awesome. Wait, you almost fell off a bench?
Yeah, they have like these like couch benches things for like the booths. And like I was in the skinniest of skinniest heels. So I was like, dancing, having a good time, and then like everybody was filming, and then I almost toppled over. My twin was on the bench with me though, so she grabbed my arm, so it was all good. It was all
There she goes.
There we go.
Yes, Renee getting down. Whoops, whoops.
Yeah, we had a spy there.
That was so slick. What a transition.
Honestly, I give you all the credit for that. Because like you just
set
me up.
Before.
And I was like, oh really? You fell off a bench, huh?
I was like, yeah.
Thank you to John Michael for giving us this exclusive footage.
That is so funny. I knew that was gonna come out to haunt me somewhere. But you know what? The makeup is makeuping on that video, so I'm not mad about it.
No, listen, you looked at if you had to go down, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
Exactly. If I'm gonna go down, I'd rather do it with a beat face,
Yes,
absolutely. Yeah, it still looked like you were having a good time, even with the near fall. So
my best life. I could have rolled my ankle and broke my foot in half, and I'd still be like, living my best life. That night was just so much fun. Oh my gosh. I wish you guys could have been there. Oh my.
We wish we could have been there too. Are you kidding?
I'd be out in like Toronto. The next time you're in Toronto, we're all on benches falling over. That's what it's gonna be.
I absolutely would be, for better or worse. I love Toronto, actually.
Yeah,
I've been to Toronto a
I
couple
do
of
so.
times. Yet John
Oh,
has been a number of times also for very different reasons. I was
ooh.
there because I had a couple of friends that used to live in Canada. But I also saw the lady Britney Spears in Canada
Really?
because I'm a huge, huge fan. And the first leg of her Onyx Hotel tour was only going to New Jersey, and I live in New York. And I said, well, I might as well just go to Canada. And that's what I did.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Well, you
Yeah.
know what? I feel like there's no, well, I don't know. I feel like seeing Britney anywhere, but I mean, in Toronto would be kind of fun. Like, what do you know what the venue was or
It
where you
was,
went?
well, at that time, it was the Air Canada Center. I'm
Oh, yeah.
dating myself. Right.
Yes.
It's not called that anymore. I recently read on Wikipedia it
It's
changed
not.
names. No.
Yes. It has changed names, but I still refer to it as the Air Canada. I don't even know what the new name is. I
Oh,
literally
thank God. Oh, good. I feel very validated. Good.
I'm trying to actually think what it's called now. I can't even remember. Toronto people are gonna hate me for that one.
That's
I
okay.
don't
That's okay. Because I was like low key embarrassed because like I always tell people like, yeah, I've been to Canada. You know the Air Canada Center? Right. Yes, I know it well. I've been once and it was like 15 years ago. And then when I read the name change, it's like, oh damn it.
It's okay. I'm from here, and I'm like, yeah, ACC. I don't know.
I don't.
Whatever.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't know what it's called anymore. The times that I went was specifically to go there because I worked.
Actually,
I was working for
Rotary,
the,
but
for
it's
the New York
not.
Islanders in like
Yeah.
hockey. So I was there to visit the Toronto Maple Leafs. So it was like, but that's been years. I have no
Are
idea
you
what it's
a fan
called
of the
now.
Leafs? Are you a Leafs guy?
No, I'm an Islanders guy. New York
Oh. I know nothing about hockey, but I'm gonna just either way.
Okay, Islanders. It's not the Maple Leafs, so whatever.
Whatever. Can't be good as I don't know. Apparently we have like a I don't even know. I'm not even gonna speak on the sports world because who knows?
That is fine. So pre-stream, you told us that you were getting ready to go back to law school, not go back, go into. That is super exciting. Living your Elwood's best, especially in pink on this evening. Let's go. Let's go.
I had to embody the energy.
Yes. So when do you start?
I start in September, and I'm in Ontario, but I'm in Northern Ontario, so I'm going quite a ways away. So I'm gonna live like my little small town girl, Elwood's hopefully a little dream, but it's been my top goal in life to get into law school. So on a little bit of a serious note, I'm so appreciative of the opportunity and to be able to do that and to start working in the fields that I really want to practice in and
Yeah.
to achieve some of the goals that I have with some social injustice issues that I find that we have in the system. So I can't wait to get my hands in it and to have that agency and willingness or ability to do the levels of cases that I want to. So I'm just over the moon with being able to go. But yeah, I'm excited. I think it's going to be a great experience. It's been stressful finding an apartment and everything in Thunder Bay. It's a little hard, but we're making it work. We're gonna do the damn thing.
That's
I think that's
amazing.
awesome.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Did you say what type? Do you know what type of law you want to focus on? Do you even know that yet, or?
Yeah, I do, but I get a lot of oh, you want to do that area of law? So I know it'll kind of change probably when I'm older, but the main ones I'm most passionate about are criminal and family law. But I think for, sustainability and like the longevity of, my mental health and things like that, I think I would move more into securities and try to start there because it's still a very underdeveloped area of law in Canada. So I think it would be a great place to get my feet wet. So down the line, probably switch to securities if I could kind of peg it out. But initially, I would want to do criminal and family with like the youth justice, the youth court systems. I love working with kids, and I think observing in those court systems, I think I could be of use in there and make some waves. So hopefully, so definitely want to start there and then see where it takes me. I'm not following one specific path. I just knew I wanted to get into law, so
Right.
yeah, we'll see what comes
Wow.
of it. Yeah.
I love that.
That's awesome.
And I'm so happy that we got to bring this up on here because, the Renee we know, thanks to BB Can, silly girl Renee, right? And it's a place for silly girl Renee, but Renee's not a silly girl. And apparently, because of this editing, is why your father hates me.
my gosh, you're gonna love this part of the podcast, Dad, if you're watching.
That's so
Yeah.
funny.
But yeah, he definitely, when I told him I was coming on, he's like, you know, I think he also wanted his 5 minutes on here too. He's like, I need to go talk to Kyle. You know, he was calling you, you know, some bubbly girl that wasn't gonna last that long, and you didn't know what you were doing. And I was like, can you blame him though? My whole bio was like makeup, and then like a side of I kind of like school, makeup. And so
I kind of like school makeup.
you know, I don't blame him. I don't blame you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny though, because like talking to you now and like talking, you know, hearing about like your law school aspirations and things like that, like you see, like you're such a bright person, you know, and it's like, so like what's funny to me is like it really feels like you were playing a character in there, like with the Renee's Boutte, like as funny as like it was to hear that, like part of me was like, oh, like I don't want Renee to go back on the block because I don't want her to be in danger, but at the same time it would be funny to hear her say Renee's Boutte back on the block.
This Boutte has to get off the block.
Yeah. Like, I love those moments.
I was like, what else can I say? I was like, this Boutte is on fire. I was like, I gotta get it off. Like, no, bye. Like anything I could say with Boutte, I guess I slipped it. I blacked out in those DRs. Honestly, I don't even know what half of it came out, but apparently the majority, 90% of my words was Boutte. So, or pissed. So I'm like, I don't know.
Or pissed.
Kind of just, I think I have a definitely like that quirky side to me, and I think that's what was portrayed the most on the show. Like, I'm a very quirky individual. My friends even would call me like a character. I think that was like a backhanded compliment in my friend group. Like, oh my God, you're such a character, just because I'm very like, this is me, take it or leave it kind of thing.
Yeah, I would have just tossed my hair back. Like, what exactly do you mean by that though?
Yeah, I would be, no, I didn't know to stop. I was like, so what do you mean I'm a character? I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to audition for this show. I was like, I'll show you what a character is.
Exactly. I'll show you how much of a character I can be.
Yeah. I was like, you want to see a character? Say no more.
Yeah. That's so great. I have a silly question.
Yeah.
So we loved watching you with the girly pops all season on the show. Yeah. One thing that was funny, a little confusing right in the beginning, but you know, it was cleared up pretty quickly. But Nene, Renee, Shania, when it first started and you two were like standing together and someone would be like, Nene, I'd be like, wait, who's who?
Exactly.
Like, did it confuse you at all in there? Like as much as it confused us? No.
Surprisingly, it wasn't that confusing. Nene introduced herself as Nene right off the bat. And the funny thing is like, I never grew up with a nickname, like in between my friends, there wasn't really much like to say, but my younger sister, the one I'm sure you guys know a bit about, she couldn't say her R's or something like that. And so she would call me Nene when I was younger. And I hated that name. And I was like, I don't like Nene. Like, stop calling me Nene. And then the dance, the Nene came out. So I was like, I'm definitely not claiming this name for sure. I can't do
definitely rejecting it. Objection.
Yeah. But then when Nene started using it, I'm like, you know what? It is kind of cute. Like, I don't think I look like a Nene. I think they started calling me Ray Ray. I don't know if it made it on the show. So I was Ray Ray, she was Nene. Together, it makes for Nene. I don't know.
That is actually really funny because we decided that we were going to make nicknames for all three of the girly pops too. So obviously Shania was Nene. I was like, Renee has to be Ray Ray. Yes. And then Claudia gets the short end because she's just Claude.
Yeah. Claude.
We had so much fun with that. So then Claude said this.
Name too in the house. She went by Cece because of her initials. So she had a cute one name. Was Nene, was Cece, and then like Ray Ray was like, okay, sure. Rock with it.
Ray Ray, like it's not Ray Day.
Smile and you say you love it because you don't want to be going on the block. I was there anyways, so I had to have like interesting. You know what? Ray Ray grew on me. I'm gonna say I like it before my castmates are like, you didn't like it.
It's like I'll be Ray Ray if it keeps me off the block.
I'm like, I'll be your Ray Ray, I'll be your Nene, and I'll be your Cece if you need me to. Just whatever.
I'll be whatever you want me. Just leave me alone.
Yeah, literally.
You can call me whatever you want.
Literally.
So silly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, since we're here and we're talking about the girly pops, you know, this is really John's question. I don't want to hijack your stuff, man. But
no.
You know, we want to talk about the girly pops at the end game there. So you go ahead. I'm gonna take your stuff.
Well, so I had a thought that I did want to want to ask you about. And then Kyle had something that he was like, oh, that's a great way for me to, go into my question. So, it was wild to watch this season because there was a point we lost some people, not through evictions, but they left the game. They chose to leave. So we got to a point where it felt like in there, it was the Crown, right, who had like the majority. And then it was the Girly Pops and then like Ty. Right. Yeah. And I feel like
season 11. That's it. That was season 11 for you.
Yeah. And I feel like you don't always get enough credit, and the Girly Pops don't get enough credit, because I feel like when the Crown formed, like everyone just expected they have the majority, they have the numbers, and they have they're all really tight, so they're just gonna float to the end. But if it wasn't for Ty like never losing a veto ever, you guys, I think, would have made it to like the final three. There was a stretch towards the end of the game where Claudia won, then you won HOH.
Yeah. We were like, uh-oh.
Beast right there, yeah. And then Claudia won again. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, you guys pretty much dismantled the Crown. And if Ty if he had just lost one veto, I think that you guys would have been the final three.
When I say girly, you say pops.
Yeah, right? Girly Pops. And so I wanted to make sure that you're getting your flowers, because I feel like people they always remember you being on the block, being the block star, but you won an HOH. I think by the time that we got to the end of the game too, other than Ty, you probably had won just as many comps as pretty much anybody else in there. And it was an HOH. So I just thought the Girly Pop domination after the Crown took over was very impressive to me. If Ty had just freaking lost a veto.
You know what? It's funny because I briefly had a conversation with the girls before that. And I think now, like coming out of the house and slowly getting pieces of everything and really looking at the game, because when you're in it and you're playing it, you're like, okay, I think I'm doing a good job. I'm doing the best I can. I hope people see this. But then you're also like, am I being cocky about it? Am I being too high up because I'm the one playing? And obviously everyone's biased to the game that they're playing. But I really do think with how undermined and also a little bit isolated at times the Girly Pops were in that game from everything else that was happening. Like we would be in power or we would have a move. And I have to say, like, even from before CC's win, I think the first person that was the catalyst of like the Girly Pop streak, if you will, was Nene with her veto win. I think her coming in with the veto and pulling me off that block and sticking to that when she had all that pressure set the tone of like, okay, we're going to move forward together, because at that time it was still quite wonky. I had a lot of obstacles, to say the least, with the Girly Pops in terms of CC's trust wavering with me on the invisible HOH week and like et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that definitely created a ridge in our alliance. And for it being so small, usually those rifts can completely destroy an alliance. So the fact that we stuck together and then dismantled the Crown, which was the majority and more well-liked at that point, just in terms of like game and how it was viewed and how people saw them as players, the Crown was way more popular, if you will, than us. So the fact that we could hold that streak for about like 15 days or 20 days, whatever it was, and pull that alliance apart, and then also still kind of stay loyal to like the more general girl, I don't call it an alliance, but it was like kind of like an agreement that we would like take the girls as far as we could. So we were still staying true to that and trying to dismantle everything. And again, yes, if we did have a little hiccup with an oversight in the double over there, and that was like ultimately our biggest demise. But I think I was always very confident walking into that house when I linked up with CC and Nene. I was like, if they give me their trust, I was like, I know we can make it to that final three. I just had something in my gut. I was like, I know we can do this. And I think though, if I'm being completely transparent and spilling some of the tea on this, I think halfway through the game, I didn't see the three of us touching it to final three. I saw us making it to the final four, but I had a feeling I was going to have to cut either CC or Nene because of the relationship they were developing, which I later found out in jury. Nene was discussing that Nene had told me that her and CC had made a general agreement of taking each other to the final two because they didn't think they could beat my narrative or speeches kind of thing. They were like, because for the amount of times I was on the block, I always had to do a speech. And I didn't think I was doing that great of speeches, but apparently they were somewhat impressive to them. So then they were like, if we hit that final speech, they were thinking strategically and as they should, as putting themselves first and actually seeing an end game for themselves. They were thinking of, that they were going to take themselves. And the one scenario I didn't want to work out was to help a unit move as far as the final three and then get cut at that final three without even having a consideration. If like the person who had the final choice could sit there and be like, okay, it's a toss up for me, then that's enough of a win for me that I made it as far to be considered. But I didn't want to put myself in a point where I felt like I was just at a losing battle. So the girly pop streak would have continued, but depending on how the trust was at that point, like after we had Nene survive the double as well, there would have definitely been a lot of talks. I think it maybe could have made us stronger to the point where we do move to the final three, but I think it was very scary for all three of us who was going to take who. So that could have potentially rifted a little bit in between there. But I think that the girly pops don't get enough credit sometimes, like with that winning streak, and especially like Cece with those wins that she would come in with, like because they pocketed mine, and Nene with hers specifically, because I would have been gone on that week. I'm highly 100% sure if Nene didn't use that veto, I would be out that door. So her sticking to her guns to use it, and then Cece having the balls put tie up, and then me trying to go for tie again and finish up loose ends. I think it was the highlight of the game for me, that little streak of ours. So thank you for
absolutely. Well, it certainly wasn't a little streak, so don't understate that. I think it's also important to note that like there's some things you said in there that's a little bit of an undersell, because I don't think it's just your speeches that made you threatening. At that stage of the game, you certainly had more comp wins than Nene. Yeah, yes, she did save you. Yeah, good. Okay, great. But like, it's not just the speeches. Like, if you want to talk about just like your BB like report card or resume, if you will, like you certainly had more comp wins at that point than her, or at least comparable.
Yeah.
So you were a threat for like a number of different reasons. Which is interesting because, obviously Claude, made the tough decision to cut Nene when there was a choice. So,
but that took a lot of work from my end. I think had I not,
I would love to know more about that, right? Because that's tricky. That's tricky, and like especially in the one, I'm sure you had some survivor's guilt, like that kind of. So, what did Renee feel in that moment? Like, how was that for you?
It's funny because I think I had to go a little bit on autopilot for a little bit of that game following the fatal feast and going into my Claudia's HOH and then my HOH. Mm-hmm. I think one of my like lowest points in the house internally and like with myself was coming out of the fatal feast, because I had to stop for a second and be like, even though the prior week Nene used the veto on me, and I was like, oh, my alliance believes me, like they're gonna move with me, we're gonna stick together, like we're not turning. Like I wanted that kind of solidified alliance, at least with us. And so when the fatal feast rolled around, I was completely, even though I wasn't mad that she saved Cece because one of us had to get saved, I was like, I'm always going to be dead last, pick last on the end. And I was like, I would be naive to think that this pattern wouldn't repeat itself in that final leg. And I feel like strategically, even though my social pull, I was good with everyone socially, my social pull was weak because no one just wanted to listen to what I had to say or anything that I had to offer to the table. And even the points I were making, they would take half the point, but then still put me up on the block or like whatever, right? So I think I reached to that point that I was like, I feel like strategically in this game, I wake up, I eat, sleep, breathe the game. I'm constantly thinking about it. I might not be vocalizing everything because I really had to play that whole game defensively because of if I was on the block, there was a high chance I wasn't coming down. So I have to constantly be on edge that a vote can flip, that this can flip. Like I had to play the game completely differently right off the bat. So I think I'm completely rambling off track here, but going into like my HOH, I'm like, oh, that happens from time to time.
No.
The GR people.
It all is part of it. No.
Yeah, no, but so moving into my HOH, I was in this point that I was being a bit more selfish with my game in the sense of like everybody else has had a reason why they had to, target me or screw me over, or have my name in their mouth in a way that didn't help my game and or put me up on the block or whatever it might be. And everybody was like, oh, it's okay, you can take it, you can take it. But again, anyone who's touched that block, which I would have touched on in my finale speech had I made it there, was that you feel discombobulated, like you're not yourself. So like I sat on the block in the game for the first 20 days straight. I only came off for like 12 hours. So it's like the fact that I was doing that, the fact that I alone did that, and then also was playing in every single comp. There's only like 3 comps out of the whole time I was there that I didn't do. I think that mental and physical toll alone should be respected, that you could still wake up and play and strategize and do the things you need to get off the block, regardless if you're a pawn, regardless if you're the bigger player on the seat. Pawns go home all the time. You say one wrong word in that house or a fight happens, you can go home.
You're out of here.
I play every single angle of that house. So it's like that stuff is why I wish the live feeds were there, in the sense like I wish they could see a little bit more of like the work that I really did every day, because I feel like when I was on the block and people weren't, they were like more like, okay, we don't have to talk about game today, or maybe they were only talking with their alliances and stuff like that. And I was like, how do I slip this in and start planting the seeds without them thinking I'm doing the actual work? So I think going into my HOH, again, circling back around, I was in the point that I was like, I need to start playing selfishly and doing what I need for myself and to set myself up in the best way, because I really did feel if that double came around any earlier than that, I would have had a very high chance of going home. So that whole week, the 3 days before the double, Cece had come up to me, because again, it was at this point too that I started realizing like Nene's sitting nice in the house, and plus she has Daniel and Anika that she seems really close with on the day-to-day. Yes, it could just be personal, but you have to think, oh, that could be a game relationship as well.
Absolutely, sure.
And I didn't see that growing as much with Claudia, even though Claudia was close to Nene, and I could see like maybe there's something bigger amongst me. Like I just always thought that there's something bigger outside of me that I'm not completely involved in for whatever reason. So in my HOH week, Cece had come up to me. I'll never forget this, because it was going in my head, but I would never be, I was so loyal to my alliance at that point that I would never speak ill of my alliance members, even if they were already talking about their separate alliances and doing things. Like I was loyal to those two. That's it. Like I didn't have any, people were frustrated with me, like Ty being one of them, that I wasn't giving like my 100% dying, like overbearing loyalty to them, or like verbally telling them that I was loyal to them, because to me, it wasn't, I knew it wasn't true. I knew it was, I wasn't going to sell it that way. So I was like, I'm sticking to these two. This is what I have. At the end of the day, they can be numbers. At the end of the day, we can be a unit, and I know we can go somewhere with it. But again, I keep rambling. Sorry. But going into my HOH, I was like,
I apologize.
I'm like, oh, I go everywhere. But yeah, going into my HOH, I was like, I'm going to be selfish about this, and starting to think that way. I was like, Nene's sitting really well in the house. I was like, I need Claudia to see this. If Claudia doesn't see this, then I don't know how that double is going to pan out. And she came up to me in the pool room and said, I think like Nene's sitting really well in the house. And that was like my golden goose egg there, because I was able to feed into that and be like, yeah, you know what? Like I love her to death, but it does look like she's really good with Daniel and Mika. It does look like she's going to do this. It does look like A, B, C, D. And so we had those conversations. And that's when the final 3 with Ty started coming to fruition a little bit lightly in conversation. And then when it came down to that double and she had to make that rash decision, those seeds were already planted and growing at that time, to where she ended up making the decision of not saving Nene over me, which was crazy on a game level, how close they were, how more intertwined they were than me. Even on a personal level, they were super, super close. Again, I had to be good with everybody at all times. I couldn't just sit and develop 2 relationships completely. I had to be good with everybody in the event I needed the votes. So the fact that they had that relationship there, and Cece was still able to cut her for her game of whatever reason she found for it, I was like, I feel like I did the Lord's work that week. I was like,
I have 2 thoughts.
Yeah.
The first thought is that I think it's a very good sign that you're choosing the correct, profession to go into by going to law school. Because if you, if one of the big reasons that people wanted to get you out of there was because of how well you spoke and like the speeches you gave, like you're clearly even more persuasive than you even realize. Especially in pressure situations. I can't imagine something being as stressful as being on the block on eviction night. And the other thing is, do not apologize if you feel like you're rambling, because we loved watching you on the show. So the fact that you're willing to come and sit here with us and like talk about what was going through your head at the time, that all these things that we saw, you know, like that we watched happen, and you're sitting right here in front of us. So don't apologize. We love to hear you. Yeah.
No,
And we love this game. So like,
I love the game too. And I love
Yes.
talking with people who can see different assets and facets of the game.
Yeah.
Because I think, again, when you're with people that are like actually playing as players, it's like they're going to be biased, especially like with some of my castmates. Like me and Ty still get into tips to this day. Love the man. But it's like we'll get into tips with like that final leg where he did decide to cut me over Daniel. And I'm like, this is why I didn't trust you the whole game. Like, do you not see how I like
Right,
I had
because I knew.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I knew that when it came down to me and another choice, I always just had it in my gut. Even though me and Ty really did have a good personal relationship in the house, honestly, I always felt like he was going to pick someone else over myself. And you did multiple things throughout the game to show me that. So yes, you might chalk it down to, oh, like I just didn't care. Like it could have been anybody, like kind of thing. But it's like, no, but you actively chose me. Like you put me on the block. You did this to me. You wanted to break up my numbers. You wanted, the only thing I can write, we had to play our games very differently. He played offensively and I played defensively. So it's like, I needed the numbers by the end of the week if I wanted to stay. You needed the comp wins if you wanted to stay. So it's like, it's those things that you kind of get into. And it's like, I really had to, it was the fatal feast that in my head, I was like, damn, I have to start looking at my alliance members, like people that I might have to cut if I'm getting to that point. But I felt like regardless if I took either of them to the end, if I had the choice to take either, it would have been a toss-up for me who I took. I would have considered either or. Because I really felt strongly enough in my game at that point that I could sell it against anyone, almost anyone, to take that win. So I was confident enough in that if I made it to that final two. So that's why when I made it through the double, I was like, I'm going to final three. I'm in final three. Like, and then I saw, like, I was like, I'm going to be in final two. I was like, this is great. That's when I started actually getting hyped up. But that was also my Achilles heel, because it's always when you get a little bit too excited that the boot comes down. So yeah.
I can't even imagine just like being able to see the end game and just like being able to envision it.
Imagine being there for the first 20 days and thinking like, I need to go home on a stretcher, because my body was black and blue from the slap comp. Okay. Let me tell you, she was struggling. I was walking on my elbows here from all the fight I was going in. I was like, I'm not going to make it through. And I was like, and honestly, because it was like very early and like tensions were high, I was like, I hate all these people and I want to go home. Like, I was like, I'm done. I was like, no, just keep pushing through, keep pushing. And every week was an obstacle for me, even on the weeks that I was supposed to be like completely good and safe, like when Nene had the veto or when Claudia won the HOH. I was still walking on eggshells, and I think that's what people don't understand. Like there was still doubt in my alliance of me for, I think, they said I looked like I was acting weird and this and that, and I was like, but I wasn't. Like I was doing what I needed to do to survive at that point. I don't know. Right. So it's like to play that whole way through, stay loyal to my alliance, and pull all of us along that far and still strategize and wake up and have the fight to do it, I think are the layers of the game that you can't see, you know, as visibly on camera or as outwardly on camera.
Right.
So that's what I wish, I think, like, people took in a bit more. And when I meet fans to this day and they tell me like, your game was so underrated, like it makes my heart, even if they're just telling me to be nice, it makes my heart so proud, because I was like, I just wanted to play a damn good game when I came in. I wanted to fight. I wanted to be there. I wanted to work with what I got, you know, didn't have much to work with at times with like the comp wins, but like when it came through, I pulled out the wins that I needed. And sometimes it's quality, not quantity. So you know what? I'm a good.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. Can we talk about some drama? And like some scandalous things? Yeah, because there was some drama in the house. You know, it wasn't all strategy. It wasn't all strat chat, right? No. See what we did. So obviously, you know, we had a couple of people who walked from the game, most notably Zach. You know, because he was a little miffed about the whole letter with Hope.
Oh yeah.
Lettergate.
Yeah.
Lettergate. Woo.
Letter.
I'm
There's
like,
actually
I
a
love
lot of gates that came out of this season, and we'll get into all of them. I
Oh
certainly
yeah.
would like to know. So obviously, Hope, he got that letter from his girlfriend, and
yes.
and Zach saw that as a very offensive thing. Certainly something that should never have happened. Yes, rules were broken, and also Sir Ty did not enjoy this as well. Right? They were both pretty miffed. So what did you think about the letter? Like, did that offend you? Did you think that that gave Hope an advantage over everybody else? Like, what were your thoughts when that all came to light?
Uh, let me drink one more time for this one.
Oh yeah, you drink as much as you'd like.
Oh
Yeah.
man, we asked John Michael
Okay.
about this too. I'm
Mhm.
definitely interested to get your opinion.
Yeah, it's super difficult, but I think I've always been I had multiple conversations in the house about this, and my opinion, truthfully, even being outside of the house, has not changed. So I
Mhm.
don't think this is like as much tea as you probably thought you were going to get. But I do think, as a fan of the show, as a player in the game, having the letter in the house in and of itself, just the physical letter being in the house, is a rule break. Yeah,
Right.
I can't sugarcoat that. I can't repaint
Mhm.
it. I wish it didn't happen. I know Hope isn't the type of person that wants to quote unquote cheat. I think he just genuinely was not aware of the fact of what a letter can do in the house and how it can impact your game in terms of like even just giving you a boost in the morning to play. So on that note, the physical letter, yes, was a rule break, and that was in and of itself wrong. And I
Right.
can't do anything about that.
No,
I
we agree.
think
We
for
agree
me,
here.
the struggle that I have with when Ty and Zach come into the situation, and again, I do understand their whole reasoning. They explained everything in and outside of the house of how they felt about the letter and like how it impacted quote unquote the integrity of the game. I have a problem with when the letter was brought to the attention of the big brother, the outside, whatever you want to call it, the team.
Right.
Because had the letter been removed immediately or at least 2 days after in that house, and then the boys had came forward and been like, he still used the letter as like a way to like get us to throw the comp and do this. I think they would have had a lot more sympathy from the people in the cast. I can't speak for everybody, but I'll speak for myself. I think I would have had more sympathy to the fact of like, okay, yeah, that did mess with their game and they're thinking of doing this, or it messed around with this. And so that would make me more open to maybe giving a vote here or whatever, or helping them change the outcome of
Mhm.
whatever they did from a game standpoint. But the fact that the letter was sat on for so long, and when it was useful for Hope to be a pawn on the block or do whatever he needed to do, the letter was not brought up. And then just coincidentally, again, this maybe is not the intention. I don't think this was the intention, but how it appears, we have to go off of optics in that house. It's like the second that
Right.
the game move was pulled and it wasn't in your favor, then you took in this rule break and then started making this whole big hoopla over it. So I think that's how it being sat on like that and kind of, not mentioned and we didn't think it was this and that. But then when it messed with our game, then we said it. It's like that could have messed with somebody else's game. Maybe Hope could have like, you don't know how that could have impacted anyone else's game. The be all and the end all is like that letter should have been brought up. And as hard as it is, I know it's like a friend and they're coming to you and they're confiding in you. If a friend had brought me the letter, if one of the girls had brought me the letter, I really do think in my heart, because of how big of a fan I am of the game, I think I would have been like, listen, you got to bring it to them and tell it to them, because I don't think it would have warranted a disqualification at that point or an elimination or whatever. I think they would have got reprimanded in some way, but I would have been like, you need about that word, or I'm gonna have to because I know by association kind of thing. So I think that's where I struggle with it. But the actual letter being in the house, of course, is a rule break. Of course, can give someone an edge in their game. I don't doubt like the arguments that they make from their side of like it can give you a boost in your game. They can use it to manipulate. Yes, yes, yes. All of that is true. But the abstract idea of what you do with the letter can be separated from the physical letter. Like the letter does not have to be in the house for you to have your argument about what the letter did. And so for you to use the actual physical letter and bring that up to be like, they need to go because they have this physical letter in here, that's where I kind of get like, it's a little too coincidental in timing, and I would have preferred it to happen earlier. It's easier said than done, but I think in terms of like when you're talking about quote unquote the integrity of the game, I think that physical letter just should not have been in the house. The second that Hope knew about it, that next person, it should have been out of there. And then again, if you want to use the letter, like Hope used the letter and he made me think this and he manipulated, that's more of like, you can tie more to the game and be a part of the game. And then people can kind of like tag onto that, because the reality is Kevin from season 10, one of the best players to play, had a fake wedding ring that he would pawn off to be like, take my wedding ring, take my wedding ring. Keep me
We've
off
seen that in BBUS also. We've seen that.
You sure have.
But like the wedding ring being in the house was not a rule break, but the letter was. So that's where the conflation starts. So I think the manipulation, if even Hope was intending to use it like that, which I really don't think he was, of what I understand of Hope and how I know Hope, I don't think he thinks that far ahead to be like, I'm going to use this letter as this. Maybe like, I don't know. I can't speak 100% on that, but the letter should not have been in the house. You knew of it. You had equally as much of a responsibility once you knew about it, I think, as Hope did, to bring it forward, especially when you're older, especially when you like, there's just so many factors, right? So I think that is where I have trouble with the letter, because I would have taken the whole argument about he used it to manipulate me. Like that's all fair and love and war in the game. But like the actual physical letter being in there should not have been in there. So that's where I falter. And that's where I don't think they should have received like an equal punishment to Hope or anything or whatever. But Hope did receive a really, really big punishment. And like that, him not having a vote and not being able to play the HOH the next week, it's like we already lost like so many people. I understand it's at the expense of your game. Maybe if I were in Zach's shoes, maybe I would feel differently, but I feel like I would have handled it differently, and that's why I struggle with it. So Lettergate is a very hard one for me, because it does have that like, I'm also a philosophy student, so I'm thinking not just like the physical, I'm thinking like the abstract idea of it, and I'm like separating the two. So I don't know if that's
because there's different layers to it, and I agree with you completely on everything that you said there. It's not so yes, the letter was wrong, but also when you brought it up, seemed to really only be self-serving. Like this wasn't about the integrity of the game. This was more about kind of protecting you from being evicted. Like we'll just say this in our back pocket for when we need it, and that's kind of why like. Is a little stinky.
I understand too. They had brought up the letter to Hope and had been like, we threw you that comp. You cannot use that POV. And it's like, I actually had, of what I understand from Hope, again, this could be different now because we're months out of the house, but I had a final conversation with Hope the night before the POV with Johnny in Circle K, where I was crying for him because, again, we don't know this aspect of the letter, okay? So I'm just thinking that these boys are trying to, like, bully Hope into not use or manipulate him into not using the POV. And for that point in the game, we had seen that the boys had their hands in a lot of the moves in the house, if not controlling the HOHs by proxy, right?
Yes.
At that point, it had gone to the fear of mine that the boys were just going to dominate over the game. I had a feeling like, oh, they'll clash eventually because they have such big like personalities and things like that. But I didn't see it happening until a little bit later in the game. So I was like, Hope, you need to do this for yourself. You need to play your own game. You need to stand on your own 2 feet. And you need to make the moves that are good for you. If you're going to stand there, win a POV, go through all that work, because I know how hard it is to win a freaking competition, and you're not going to use it on yourself, you're doing yourself a disservice. Do you want to play in this game? Do you want to be here? And we had this whole breakdown conversation. And this was one of the big conversations I remember in the house that kind of stayed with me because it was so emotional, where me and Johnny were just there, and we'll be like, that's actually before the crown even started, where we wanted to be an alliance of 3. And I thought that they were joking with me, that they wanted to be in an alliance with me because I was so on edge with everybody. So we were like, we're going to do this. We're going to be an alliance. We're going to move forward. We're going to have each other's backs. Like, this is how it's going to work. And, I didn't really follow through. We laugh about that to this day. I didn't really follow through with that alliance because I didn't think that they would. Again, I had trust issues. I didn't think they were loyal to me.
As anyone would in this game.
He used it. And when he used it, to me, I was like, this is like a symbol. He's doing his first own game move for himself. So I was like, this is even bigger than the game. This is just like this is doing this for you. Like, do this for yourself. Like, you would be crazy not to do this and lock the block like that, right? Because he was up against me. Wait, no, he wasn't. He was up against Santina. So it was him and Santina on the block. So I was like, if you don't take yourself down, she's going to start pitching that you're a bigger threat. And we don't know where that's going to go. And I feel like he did have some game left in him to play. And I was curious to see where his game would go. So that, like, I think, yeah, Zach and Ty, like, him wanting him not to use the POV was just, like, in itself, like, oh my gosh, are you crazy? Because we didn't understand the whole letter aspect. But they had, the point is that I was trying to get at that is that they tried to make him not use that POV and to, like, right the wrongs that they felt that they were wrong by. Right. And then, again, the letter was not brought up at that point. Still throughout that whole time, the letter was not brought up. And then at the time it was brought up, the timing just looks so poor. And I think of what I understand, they acknowledge the fact that, like, for us, we were just playing a game. We were trying to just continue with the game and play the game. We weren't involved in the letter part, so we're not to blame for that. But I think also just the timing of how it looked to everybody, I think everybody was quite in agreement that it didn't look the best.
Right.
However, I do think, like, I did hear out, like, the full arguments and conversations, and I don't think that their arguments are completely invalid, and I think that they should be heard out, and I'm glad that they're talking about it. But I do think, like, for myself of living it in the house, that I had a whole conversation with Zach about the physical and the abstract of, like, the letter, of, like, the layers of the letter, and, like, why I was struggling with it. And I think he understood. And likewise, I was trying to understand him of why he came up with the letter so late. And it did make sense. It wasn't like a completely, like, you're feeding me bull crap. But again, it also, you have to take it with a grain of salt sometimes too. So I struggle with it, but I think for me, I'm content with how I've broken down the letter gate. And I think, letter gate. We had a lot of gates in our season. So I think that's what I come down to it. But again, like, I love Hope to death, but it was a rule break, and, like, you need to own up to that. But do I think it, like, warranted a complete elimination? That's where I don't think so. And at that point, we had lost so many people that it was like, what, we're gonna kick this one out? Like, it just,
we're gonna kick this one out over a piece of paper that, honestly, at the end of the day, production really should have caught as these things came in the house, right? So, like,
1,000%,
especially,
right?
especially
there's a third part to this.
Yeah,
it's like
people started
whoever is in charge of, like, the clothing checking. I don't know. You should be put on a performance improvement plan.
Because I feel like I, again, can't speak too much on this, but I feel like they are quite diligent, and so I was so surprised, honestly, how, like, it got. I still don't know 100% how it got in. Can't really talk. But
right.
Yeah.
I think for me, like, it was odd to me that, like, because, like we were saying, right, Zach and Ty knew about this letter for some time and didn't say anything about it. And the fact that it was being spoken about, maybe even passed around, and production still didn't pick up on it is, like, I think, to me, the biggest thing. Like, okay, it shouldn't have gotten in there, but it did. But now people are talking about it and sharing it, and, like, still nobody knows anything about this. Like,
I remember when Hope called me into the bedroom, and so Anika came out. I think they showed this in the show. I'm only halfway caught up, but she comes out into the nook. This is when Lettergate only started to start picking up, right? Snowballing. She goes, Hope wants to talk to you in the bedroom. This is when, for the first leg of the game, me and Hope were actually very, very, very close. He was actually one of the first people I trusted almost completely, wholeheartedly, because of how supportive he was while I was on the block. He's like, I got your back. We're getting you out of this. You're not going to stay in this. And again, maybe it was bullcrap when he was saying it, but he really was that. Even after the slop comp, like, I almost collapsed because I was so physically drained from that comp. Like, that was the hardest comp for me out of the entire season, no doubt. And he was just there, and he's like, you know what? It's okay. Here, I'm going to help you, like, get all your stuff off and get out of the slime. We're going to sit. We're going to plan. He was very much there until he pulled a rogue vote on me. And he also told me that. And I was like, no, buddy, this is not how we're going to play. The game is not going to go this way, buddy. So I think, like, I completely forgot where I was going with this, but I think, like, what were we talking about?
Talking about the note getting in, and just
I think
we were talking about.
I'm like, where am I even going with my stories half the time? I had started on rambling on something, but
I like
anyways,
stories.
Hope and I were very close at that time. So Anika came and called me from the Nook to go into the bedroom. And then I remember walking in, right? Because like every time Hope has a new, he already had told me the rogue vote at this point, right? So every time he has something new to tell me, I know like this could probably not be best for my game if I'm looking to work with this person in the down the line. So I was like, okay, what happened? Tell me what happened. I felt like I went into like parent mode. Hope's the only one that I could go into parent mode with. And he's like, he likes to be a little dramatic with his delivery. Hope, don't hate me. He's like, listen, there was this letter, and he's like trying to give a whole Meryl Streep performance here. Okay, really,
Not Meryl Streep.
Yeah. So then he's like, there was a letter, and it got in and this and that. I was like, my face the whole time in that house was like, I could catch flies with how dropped over my. Imagine being exhausted, no sleep, working on a speech day in, day out, being on the block.
Right. Oh
and
my God.
I was like, okay, it's okay. Because I didn't want to start bringing it too much attention, like with that, with the letter gate, because I didn't want it to snowball. Sure enough, it was already snowballing before I could even stop it. And then I was like, okay, it's okay. They're just, when I first heard about it and how they went to, you know, the big guy, I was upset. Yeah, the big guy, we'll call him Big Brother. I was upset because I did feel like it was used maliciously at that point, is what I thought it to be. I was like, oh, he didn't do what they wanted him to do. Now he's not useful to them. Now they're using the letter and they're trying to go outside of him to get him out, is what I thought at the time. And so I was like, it's okay. We're going to work through it. We're going to do this. So even like hearing that initially, like I had one opinion, then talking over and over and over. And I think the only people that will truly understand that situation are the three boys in it. So I can only speculate. Yeah. But all I can say is, again, the letter should not have been in there. We read the rules. We know the game. Anybody that knows generally the game, we know that that's a privilege. We don't just get that withheld. Like we can't even keep our HOH letters post HOH like that. Goes away. So it's a privilege to have a letter in the house. So there's obviously a reason why it's a privilege. So it's like have that, even if it just says good morning or whatever. It
doesn't matter.
Whatever in it.
It's a privilege that other people don't have.
Other people don't have it. So that is where the playing field became uneven in that sense, even though some people didn't understand of like, it's just a letter. I got a loofah. So like, does that mean I'm performing better in comps? And it's like, that's not the point. It's the fact that it just should not have been there. And it's an explicit rule. So I think that, again, I think it's wrong. However, the optics and like the perception of how it was used after the fact or how it was brought up after the fact doesn't sit 100% well with me. But I also wasn't involved entirely directly in that situation. I just felt the ripple of it.
Like the excuse of like, it's the integrity of the game. It doesn't fly if you don't immediately report the letter.
That's where it becomes tricky. If we're actually going to get like into semantics and details here, I have to stop you there and I have to argue it of it. I mean, if we're going to bring it to court.
Objection.
Objection. I object. False. Misleading.
Bollocks.
That is not cool. Yeah.
Right.
Not cool. I'm pissed. So yeah. So I think on that front, but honestly, I don't think any of them, on a positive note, I don't think any of them had ill intentions per se. Maybe like that house brings out a different side of you. But I think it definitely could have been handled differently. But yeah, that's like, you know, I know Lettergate was like a big thing in our season, and I know the blow up was big of it, but I was like, you know, this doesn't even match up to what I've been feeling for the past 20 days. So I was like,
whatever.
I'm not really wrong. And I was like, and I know, and I had been really in a lot of talks with Kuzi that week of how that plan was going to work out, which I was also playing dumb to, which I wish the live feeds picked up on, because the way I would play dumb to that plan and knew exactly what was supposed to happen that week when Zach was pitching my name to Kuzi, the plan was already in place to backdoor the man. So I was like, you know what? I'm feeling good this week. You know, I'm a
amazing.
Thank you, Queen Koo. But yeah, so I think I think that week was very stressful for many, but it was actually one of my least stressful weeks because homegirl had been through the ringer up until that point. So yeah.
Zach was after you. I remember Zach saying your name quite a bit. I remember.
This man had it out for me. And you know what? I have a theory. He was like, I don't even know why he had it out for me, but he said that he was worried I was going to be a problem later down the line, which I was going to be. But
I was going to be causing troubles.
I was. There was no way. I wanted the girls to dominate. My whole thing with the season was like, girls, girls, girls. I love me some girls. I want the girls to continue. I think we have the skills. I think we have, you know, the looks and the brains and the beauty and everything. And I was like, I love you boys. You're cute, but you gotta go. You gotta go. And especially if you out my name, it was just very satisfactory for me because Zach had a lot of hands, and I knew of putting me up week after week after week, even though he wasn't directly the HOH. He played the hell out of that game to get me up on the block multiple times. We got to flip to Renee. Oh, Renee's got to go. Renee's got to go. And I don't know why. Apparently it was because we had a conversation about like what I used to do for work, which I didn't even mention any of the law stuff I did. I was like, I coach gymnastics and I have a really good time with life. Like, I love life. Like I had mentioned something that I worked for a thrift baby store and like that I would have to negotiate like prices with clients for pieces of clothing.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I heard you talking before. I know you're smart. And I stood there and I was like, not me.
Oh my
I don't know why he had it out for me that bad, but whatever. I mean, if he did it because he thought I was smart, thank you, Zach. If he did it because he just wanted me out, screw you, Zach.
Well, that's actually the perfect segue into the next thing here, because you know exactly it was. Oh yeah. Oh, we're going there. We're going there. The door is wide open, and I'm walking through. So obviously, you know, Zach super pissed over the letter gate. You know, so he leaves. Right, he leaves the game. Have had enough, he says. So we had a back and forth with him on the socials, you know, because we were not big fans of Zach in the beginning. Oh, we were all sassy all season long. We actually titled certain streams like "Shut Up, Zach." Why is Zach still talking? Like that. We were really going in on Zach. Oh yeah, we were super rude. We were super rude. And so you know, one thing led to another, and you know, John Michael had shared this one clip of us like just kind of like ripping Zach up a little bit, and you know, he tagged Zach in it, which kind of now spurred a whole new conversation, right? All right. So what was actually clipped was, so your sister was running your socials, you know, Renee BB Can 11. She's running your socials. You know, she was brand new to Twitter, and she was so super excited for reaching 100 followers, and she celebrated, and we all celebrated with her. Sans Zach, right? Like he did not like this. No. And he said, oh, 100 followers. Like, what is this? You know, Twitter game as strong as her comp game. We were like, ooh, 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 right? Like so sassy.
I was not having it.
No one was having it. And you could tell that no one was having it because like while she celebrated 100 followers in that tweet, like literally 48 hours later, she was over 1,000 followers. Like everybody was like, enough with this. We're so sick of this man. Don't be sassing this sweet girl. We're not gonna have it. Right.
My Twitter account. So thank you, Zach. Thank you for that. Yeah, I heard about this.
Gave a huge bump. So there was that, and we were basically talking about how much of a loser we thought that Zach was. And it was like a Saturday night that like John and Zach were like getting into it, and he was like, "Do you think?"
I was riding for you, Renee.
Yes, I'm telling you, John was being like so sassy, and he's texting me on the side. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I'm like, whatever, you do you. I'm like, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. Like, he's like, is it okay that I'm saying this? I don't want the podcast to look bad. I was like, I don't give a fuck. I was like, whatever. I was like, if that's how you feel, go on, tell him. I'm like,
first is when your best friend gives you the green flag, then it's like, yeah, no, hell's gates have opened.
Yes. I was like, just go for it, like whatever, right? So then Zach shares our clip and sassed us and was like, oh, looks like you guys could use my help too. Y'all ain't got no followers. Like that's not exactly how we said it. Like I'm definitely changing it a little bit.
Sounds like an exact fashion of some sort. Yeah.
Yes. So then I messaged it because he shared it at like 8 a.m. Like it was like mad early. You can tell he was
At least
definitely in
he's
his
punctual.
feelings.
He's on it.
Oh, very pumped. He woke
Yeah.
up and he was like, I'm not having these people. I'm not having it. You're not going to be slandering my name, is what he said. So, he sassed us. And I DM'd him and I said, so what's good? We could use the help. We don't have no followers. Come hang out. Come
Yeah.
talk to us. Help us. Help us.
I did watch a tad bit of this interview recently when John Michaels came out. So I'm interested to hear your take on this.
Yeah, honestly, we had a great time with Zach. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like,
Yeah.
like Zach and John had a conversation, before. After
Yeah,
Zach had said yes to me, Zach had reached out to him. I think to make sure this was a
I
safe
told- yeah.
space. But like, you've been very nasty to me. I don't want to sit down and have a conversation with you. You can be jerk.
I told Kyle, I was like, I'm messaging with Zach right now. I was like, it's very different from our last conversation. It's like we're being very nice to each other. Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
I think he just wanted to talk to me beforehand so that he wasn't like thinking he was going to jump into the stream, and then we were just going to yell at him.
Right. I'm like, I don't blame him. I was like, if I watch these things and I read these things, I'd be like, yo, let me just make sure you're fine. Because you're nasty.
Honestly, like, you know what? Even watching like clips of like the Zach interview, I could tell you guys had a really good time with it. And the reality is like, do I agree with everything that is Zach? No. However,
neither did we.
I genuinely laughed some of the hardest laughs in the house with him there. And I think he brings a type of like charisma and layer to a conversation that just, is completely left field, but also so hilarious and just so funny. And I think
absolutely, I couldn't agree more.
Some of his comments can be taken, because of his type of humor and things like that. Like we actually got along very, very well based off of our humor in the house because we're very dry, sarcastic people with like the way we and we're kind of self-deprecating a little bit at that, where like we like to poke jabs. Like me and my best friends, like we're a little too comfortable with each other. We're like, yeah, that looks like crap. Or remember that time? So, like, I have that in me. Like I had that thick skin to take those kind of jokes in the house, and he would always be like, I hope like this is just the way I joke and stuff. Like he would be mindful in certain ways. And there were points in the house that I feel points and times in the house that I feel like Zach helped me on a personal level and or game level, even though it was a little shady with like, I got your back, like I'm going to save you this week, even though he put me up there in the first place, like just things like that. So, but all in all, I don't think he's a terrible person at all. And I think I had some great conversations with him. And I don't believe in cancel culture. I don't believe in the hate and things like that. I think as castmates, we have a little bit of a duty to, even if we don't 100%, and I'm not saying to support like certain things or whatever, but we have a duty to kind of like reiterate the fact that when you're in that house, your worst sides come out sometimes for people. And, things look some way on the TV. You only get a blip of what we've done in that house.
Absolutely.
So I think having that sympathy, because, I don't think it breaks my heart, like to hear how much negative feedback he's gotten since the show has aired.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody deserves that. However, I'm not 100% Zach, like, whoa, I agree with everything you say. Like, but I think the whole point of even the show bringing out sides like that is to have argument and debate to grow from and learn from. And I think if people are doing that and they can get on a conversation of like, screw you for losing your opportunity and doing that, if you can change that to like, how can we do that better next time? I think we're having a way more productive conversation, more worthwhile conversation, as opposed to completely dismantling and ripping down a person. So, I wish Zach well in all of his endeavors. However, if you come back in that house, I mean, I don't know. Anyways, if we ever were to play a game again in some sort of universe, in some sort of capacity, you best believe I'm coming out for you, Zach.
And absolutely, but like even to expand on like what you were saying there, it's like, listen, there is one thing to be sitting back and be saying how you feel about what you've seen that's been put in front of you. Right, but there's a separate conversation to be had here, because you also have to acknowledge that as fans, like, and yes, I consider myself a super fan of this game. That is why we watch international versions. You're like, we're from New York. We don't need to be watching Big Brother Canada. We're watching it because we love it. You know, you have to also acknowledge the fact that, like, you're not in this house. It doesn't matter how much of a super fan you are. There is still an aspect of this game that you will never get to experience because you were not in there. So it doesn't matter if you had digital dilly dallies or if you actually had like full blown live feeds. There are still certain dynamics and certain things that will never be explored that you can't see via camera. So it's like you can have your opinion, but I don't think you should necessarily judge a person's character based on like what you've been seeing. So of course we had opinions about how Zach did things, but like when we're having a conversation with you, it's like, no, I want to know about your experience. Like, what was your POV while you were in there? And that's POV. I didn't mean power of veto. I meant point of view. But I realized I heard it. And I realized what I did there. But yeah, like, and that's the important part of this conversation too. Like, because we were very, very strong on our opinions of him and how that whole thing went.
Yeah.
But like when you're actually talking to him, though, it's like, wait, cool that down, because your opinion is only based on what you saw. There's so much you didn't see.
Yeah. You can be heated about something. I completely appreciate the passion that the fans have. Big Brother Canada isn't like, it's not like we're getting stopped everywhere we go, but the niche group of fans that we do have are super passionate. So I understand the frustration of people that have applied 10, 15 times or have tried to get on the show, and, to have people walk out one after one after one. And I think Zach, unfortunately, was like the end of a chain of a bunch of, those types of evictions. So I think there was a frustration on part of the fans that was also getting dumped onto Zach as well. And I think just
that's a very fair observation and something that nobody has actually touched on. So thank you for that and giving that to Zach.
No, 1,000%.
Our resident Elwoods, because that certainly is something to note. Right, he definitely got some heat, because Amal had left before we got to know her. Vanessa left, and like we barely knew her, and now this is the next self-eviction.
And there was so much more with going around with Zach. He was a big, big character, and you can't deny that he played one hell of a game. Even though as frustrating as it was to play alongside him in the house, he was playing a hell of a game. I can respect the show as a fan as well. I've been watching the show for years and years and years. I've gone to even a live show. And so, so I'm a big, big fan. So I understand the frustration of trying to get on the show and not being able to, and seeing people walk out and seeing them live your dream and just kind of let it slip through their fingers. But again, going into that house and the things that it brings out of you, and the ways that you can start thinking that it reflects so many of your outside, that you can do so much self-work in the real world and think that you've healed all these parts of yourself. And those wounds and scars can be completely reopened in that house with like the slightest conversation or the slightest look or the this or that, because you're programmed to start working in a certain way to play this game. So I think it's okay to be passionate about it. It's okay to have feelings about it. It's okay to be mad about it. But how you deliver that towards a person, I think just in general in the world, like we can do things with a little bit more kindness and compassion, because everybody's carrying a weight of something. You just don't know it. And like a smile can change somebody's day. So I think like nobody deserves that type of treatment, at least verbally. You could be like, hey, I'm really upset that you did. And there's certain ways to deliver it and vocalize it. But I think of what I've heard, I haven't seen everything. I kind of keep a distance with it. I think, people can be a bit kinder with it in terms, you don't have to be nice and be like, I love you. But you don't have to tear someone down either. Because I'm sure he like handles it the way he can handle it, but eventually that's gonna eat out a person, and that breaks my heart. I'm an empath at heart. I don't want to see people hurting. So for that,
anybody listening, I don't mean to cut you off, but I have to make sure I mention this before like I forget it. You are just as beautiful on the inside as you are on the outside. Like that was that was just the most genuine thing I've heard all day. Like that was just
oh, thank you.
I'm sitting here and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm swooning. Like, yeah, that was honestly like that was wonderful. Yeah, thank you.
We should clip this and like post it at the start of every Big Brother season.
No,
This is what it's about. This is what it's about, because there are so many layers to everything that's going on here. Like, because you forget that Big Brother, yes, it's a game, but at the beginning of this whole thing, it was supposed to be a social experiment. It was supposed to be like, how do these strangers work playing this game together in this house, cut off from everything else, right? So this is not just about playing a game. This is not just like Mario Party Live, you know? Right? No. Like this is.
We're
that was fantastic.
Yeah.
We are characters to you, but we're also humans, and I think
right.
That's where we struggle. I think even for myself, like coming out of the house and stuff like that. Yes, I'm a character, and that's quirkiness, and everything you saw in that house is very true to myself. Even my friends are saying like they don't know like that's you to a T, like my quirky side, but it's like we're also humans with feelings, and when you see stuff like that, even if it's a person you don't know making a comment, I mean, it affects you. You wear that, right? Even if you're the most nonchalant, I don't give a whatever kind of person, it's going to eat at you eventually. And I just feel like someone I've gone through bullying in my childhood, and I know that's really changed me as a person, like even with how I process things and how I hear things about myself and how I talk to myself. And that takes a long time to undo. It takes 30 seconds to dump on somebody like that, but it takes like years to unprogram that from ourselves as humans. So I think that's just something that just to stay mindful of, because social media is such a big thing. It's
I was just thinking that too, like, because Big Brother is such a different show than like any other show. It's so intimidating in a way that's different than other shows are, in that like it's a reality TV show. Like there's other reality TV shows like Survivor or The Challenge that have sort of like a Twitter following that comments on it, but there is no Twitter community that I can think of similar to the Big Brother Twitter community. And it can get so toxic at times. And I need to remind myself, I need to remind myself all the time that like we are watching human beings play a game. Like when you see somebody like Zach come into the house and he's being nasty to people, and then you get wrapped into the BB Twitter universe and you see what everybody else is saying, and then it becomes like a very emotionally charged sort of thing where it's like your favorites. If somebody's being nasty to your favorites, like you take it personally. It's like, I don't even know these people. Yeah, they're playing a game on television in another country. I'm like, and then we have, and it goes from Zach being in the house and not knowing, not liking what he's doing in there, but then to all of a sudden interacting with him on social media and like I'm being nasty to a person that I don't even know. And then we actually get to sit down and talk to him face to face. And it's like,
it's funny how
I like this guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Because the people that you might think you least get along with in the house, or that even as a fan watching, there's sometimes the people you get along with the best in the house. And that's the whole thing. And the gray area of the whole Big Brother game, which makes it so unique, is because we're there 24/7. So it's not like you're playing a challenge, okay, and then you go to your hotel at night and you have like some time to decompress. Like you're there the whole time. So naturally your emotions are going to come into, they want your emotions to come into that game.
Of course.
Fight that.
That's what's entertaining.
So I think, again, I don't support everything. I don't know exactly what was said, but I know of tads and bits and pieces of things that were said. I don't agree with. There were things, said that I don't 100% agree with, even towards myself in that house. That sometimes I'm like, you could have delivered, like you could have said that better and not said that at all. You could have gone without saying that. But I think coming out of the house, even if I know that like people are engaging and doing this and doing that and fighting the good fight and whatever, but it's just like from a fan perspective, I've never personally felt the need of like going online and like hating on a specific person. I know our season was quite unique with like the things that were happening, so we're super passionate about it, and it's again great to be passionate, but just treat it with a level of care of like, if I were in this person's shoes even for like an hour, would I be able to take this? And they're already, even if I don't make a comment right now, I can see there's already 30 comments of people with the exact same opinions as me. So it's like, if you could be that one person in that pool of 100 that says, you know what, I'm okay with leaving this right now, then I think that just starts to make a different community for us online, and even maybe in the Big Brother space. Because again, I'm all supportive of the people that have passion. Anyone that comes to me and even is like, I got like the only hate comment I ever saw for myself, which honestly there's probably more, but I've only gotten one direct one to me outside of the house, was like, oh, this girl and her annoying voice, and she just lives with her parents, and like she doesn't know like her left foot from her right foot. And I was like, you know what? Not far off. I do live with my parents. I'm very happy about it.
But I know my feet. I know my feet better than anyone else.
I
So I hope.
Yeah, I was like, voice correct, living with parents correct, but like, you know, I know a thing or two sometimes. So I think like it depends. I don't know how I would. I've been very grateful with my response outside of the house, but I know that some of my castmates have had, you know, some not great things said about them, and I'm protective over them in the sense, even if I'm not super close with them, I'm protective in the sense of like, I've gone through this experience now and I can speak on it. And I think there is something to be said about that. And if something I said that I rambled on about for an hour and a half makes sense then, and someone took something from it, then like, I'm so happy about that.
Oh, please. Makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I think that your season has sort of changed my outlook on how I will watch shows moving forward too. Like I said, because of the Zach thing. Like, it's so funny to me that like he was saying something nasty to you on Twitter, so we got him, and now we're talking to you, and it's like come for full circle where you're like giving such a really nice, eloquent, you know, answer on like what the game is like and what it's like to be in the house and how people treat you when you come out and like the outside world. And like, I just think that whole, this is like a very cool experience, I think, for us too, like as a podcast. Like,
it's so cool. I think I would be floored to like, anytime I'm able to like talk to people about the experience, or even as a fan perspective, and like link those two together and even get more insight to, because I know what it's like to have watched the show as a fan, but I was never involved in the Twitterverse, or I never went to that extent. I just genuinely enjoyed watching the show, and I would binge it. I started live feeding on like season 7. I was like this and that. So I would be immersed in it in that sense, but I would never comment, but I would see even on the webpage, like all the comments that would come up and things that were said. And I'd be like, ooh, wouldn't want to be that girl, or wouldn't want to be that guy. So I think it's interesting to see like fans, but say that, but a lot of the times when like people, even of what I've heard of castmates that have even like DM people that have said negative comments, they're like, oh, I didn't mean that, I'm so sorry, I love you. So it's like, it's kind of like, I think they also there's a, I want to be recognized too in it, or I want to have that interaction. Sometimes people think that like negative things won't like spark interactions. I don't know, I can only speculate, right? Like, but I think, you know what, for the most part, I've been having a great time with the fans. I've met some fans from the Netherlands, Ghana, like Ireland.
Wow. She's international.
And I'm like, she's international.
I'm like messaging you. I'm like, oh, we're New Yorkers. You're like, whatever.
No, I was like, oh my God. I need to make it out to New York because I need to do some shopping damage over there. I heard your shopping is
top
to New York.
I don't know anything about shopping. We gonna drink the house down. Okay,
drink the house down. We could do that too. It'll be a full day plan. No, for
I'll
sure.
hold your bags.
Okay. I mean, I'm not a person.
I ain't got no money. I can't buy you nothing. I'll buy you a shot or something like that. We're gonna have a good time.
No,
absolutely.
literally.
You come to New York, we coming. We coming.
You don't even understand that the second, you know, I'm gonna make it through my first year of law here, and I keep telling my friends, I was like, the second I can start working like full time and just start suing people left and right. No, just joking. Shouldn't be saying that. But I was like, I am racking up the bags and I'm going to New York. That's where we're going.
Come to New York. Listen, take the Amtrak.
Ooh, I don't even know what that is.
Amtrak, the train.
Oh.
Yeah, chugga 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 chugga. Come on
down. Take a nice scenic route.
Yes, I'll meet you at Moynihan Train Hall.
Train? I thought it was just like a bus that I can even take a bus there too, I think. My friend's done.
I don't want somebody as fabulous as you sitting on somebody's bus. Absolutely not. No.
Right?
Train or plane. All right, we're not gonna have Miss Renee sitting on somebody's bus. All this backfire, this exhaust. Oh no!
Oh my God! I took a bus.
I appreciate the energy.
I was visiting a friend of mine in school when I was back in college. He went to school up in Binghamton, New York.
Okay.
And I took a bus. It was the most miserable experience of my life. We drove for like 4 hours. Then we had to stop and get off and just stand in this building until a different bus came. And I was like, oh,
what are Renee's curls gonna do on a bus? Oh no.
Probably gonna be like, you won't last it. Like, you know what? I'm like, but you know what? I feel like if I had to, I could rough it out and do it. But I would definitely prefer the train or plane then at that point.
I'm sure you could rough it out. There's a lot of things that we could do. There's also a lot of things that we should not do. And you sitting on the bus is one of those.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's got to be plane or train. It's got to be plane or train. The plane is great because it's like not even an hour and a half flight to New York City. But like the train, I can imagine the train in the fall time being a very nice trip from Toronto to New York.
Beautiful, yeah. I honestly, you guys, you know, give me a textbook. I can read it and memorize it for you. But geography, buddy, I don't know.
No good.
I could probably tell with the Manitoba situation, we're a little rough with geography. So, I have heard that like the bus was there, but if there is a train, I didn't even know that there was a train, but I could definitely see like the fall, the trees, the leaves changing color, like the cute little vibe. I can come with my little scarf, my like little
oh my gosh, yes, fall chic.
Oh, fall chic! I gotta get in a whole new outfit for the fall. You don't even understand, guys. I'm like working on a poor man's budget here recently.
So we.
That's
just how I live my life on a poor man's budget. Listen, whenever you come here, we're hanging out. It's non-negotiable.
It's non-negotiable. I'm actually out there for you. You'd be surprised. I will do the trip. I will be there.
Don't stop. I'm not surprised at all. I would also come to if you could meet at least in Toronto, I would go there. I love Toronto.
Oh my gosh, I'm happy you love Toronto. You love Toronto. Come to Toronto. Oh well, yeah. I don't know if this is like. I'm sure this is open to the public, but we're doing Mertz Fest in August. I don't know if you know Mertz Fest. You know Mertz Fest?
I don't. What is this?
Well, I didn't know it either. I know it now.
You're trying to say that. I don't know if you know it. You just found out.
Yeah, I was like. I honestly just found out. I'm not gonna like talk like I knew the dang thing, but I think there's a guy named Mertz, and he throws a Mertz Fest, and he invites like all the Big Brother people out and reality stars and stuff. So he wants the girly pops to do the entrance in Toronto. So if you ever find yourself in Toronto, make it August. Make it August.
I would love to come to Toronto. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
It really is just a ride on the Amtrak. It's a ride on the Amtrak. Is Vanessa going to be there?
Of course she will. She actually just turned 19, so she will be there. Absolutely.
She will, huh? Because you know where she didn't show up.
Oh, I heard. Right
here. So after all this,
like, oh my gosh, we're so surprised she didn't end up going on because she's quite like she's a quirky, like bold human. So like.
Right. What happened there? What happened? Like, I was so jazzed about this because I said to her, I was like, listen, I was like, this is so funny to me. I was like, Zach has no idea this is happening. We want to bring you on so you can confront him at the fact that he sassed you. I'm like, we're gonna support you, girl. And only minutes before she was like, nah.
I can understand it though.
No, I understood it, but I was like, oh, I'm like, I hope she knows that like we were not setting her up to fail.
No,
like,
I think you guys would have been fine. I think my only concern would have been like how Zach responds to it because sometimes Zach can put in the boundaries and sometimes Zach can just go in. And I feel like in a sensitive state, I was like, you never know what I think my only concern would be his response, but I don't know if that's how she was thinking. I honestly don't know why she didn't end up going on. But I mean,
where is she? Is she home now?
Is she? Should I message her?
knock, knock, knock.
Let me just message her really quick and ask her if she wants to pop on here.
Message girl, what you doing?
Coming down the hall.
I'm saying, like, I mean, if you're home.
I'm talking like she's like ways away. She's like literally out that door. Hold on.
Right. I mean, like I just want to see what she looks like. I just want to bring this whole thing for a circle. Like,
honestly, yeah, because what was so great about it.
Very like she is a perfect blend of me and my twin. So yeah, I actually want her to come. I'm gonna FaceTime her.
That would be so much fun.
Honestly, it was so funny though because like we were talking on the stream about the whole Twitter saga of your sister just celebrating getting more followers, and then Zach sassing her, and we were talking about this, and Kyle was like, "It's just some like little girl with pigtails that's just trying to run your account." And Zach,
I saw that clip. Just like, come in. Do you want to quickly like fix your hair and come into my room? Okay, she's gonna come in 2 minutes. We're gonna get the queen.
Oh my god!
I'm so excited.
This is the best Tuesday ever.
Is the best Tuesday. When she tweeted out, like, she shared our clip and went, "I don't have pigtails, but I am Renee's younger sister." So funny.
I remember texting John. I was like, "Am I okay? Am I? Do you think she's mad at me?"
The funny thing is like she's very with people that she just meets. She's quite like, you know, toned down and polite. But like once you crack her shell a little bit, her sarcasm and humor, like she roasts me all the time. Like you're gonna see, I'm coming here to get charcoal, burnt toast crisp. She's gonna be like, "Oh, look at you, whatever." I'm excited. I can't wait for. She's gonna pop in a couple of minutes. But yeah, no, she definitely doesn't have pigtails.
I can't wait too.
She's going into her second year of university. She's doing forensic psychology. I'll talk her up for a second. So she's got, you know, the brains, she's got the beauty too, but she's a pain in my bootay sometimes. That is for sure. But what are little sisters for, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Oh, that's so funny. No,
I'm the little brother that annoys all the older siblings.
Oh, how many siblings do you have?
I'm one of 6. I have 4 sisters and 1 brother. And I'm the second youngest.
Wait. I have to ask, how many bathrooms did you grow up with? And how many people had to share a bathroom? And did you
there were only 2 bathrooms in my house growing up with the 6 kids and my 2 parents. It was, you know, it was a tight schedule.
And then, or did everybody just split it down the middle? Because you know what?
It was just
for share a bathroom.
There was just like a downstairs bathroom and upstairs bathroom, whichever one's free. Jump in there, get ready for school.
We've never, like, me and my sisters share a bathroom as well. Like we all like, and then my parents have their own bathroom. But like, we never had an issue with sharing bathrooms growing up. And then when I was talking to my other friends, or like when I went into the house, they're like, "Come on in." Ooh!
Oh
my gosh.
This is it. And here she
is.
She should have put on pigtails, she said.
I wish.
Oh man, it's so amazing
Vanessa.
to meet you.
Hi. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh, how are you? Did you have a lovely day today? You are so pretty.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, the Mior family's shutting it down on a Tuesday.
I don't know. We asked someone if we could, and they said they advised us not to, and we didn't know much about like everything, so we just like wanted to be safe and stuff, so we didn't do anything.
So it wasn't out of fear of what Zach would say.
I was like so prepared. I wanted to like say no.
That's so funny.
Oh, I'm so glad, because I was honestly like, your no kept me up at night. Because I was like, oh my gosh, does she think that we're not safe? And I was like, wait, I was like, I just hope that you don't think that we're mean. I was like, oh, we're nice people.
That is so
it definitely was not that.
Thank God.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, it's so nice to meet you too. I feel like we interacted so much during the season. It's like, oh my gosh, here's the face.
They're from New York, right?
I knew that they were somewhere in America.
Close enough. We're really good at geography here.
I know.
Yeah, we're like,
right. We are south. That's
south. Yeah, south of you.
You lost us already.
Well, I'm just glad. I hope that you know that through that whole Zach, saga, as you were trying to gain followers for your sister, we had your back the whole way. Just so you know.
To be honest, I just kind of wrote it for the followers. I don't really think anything was ever that deep. Like, I'll take it. I mean, she'll take it.
I'll take. I mean, he ran up my follower account, so thank you.
He sure did.
Exactly.
But anybody that wants to know who did a great job with the Twitter while I was
there she is.
Here she is, the face.
I know.
Amazing. Oh my gosh.
I know. Thank you for pushing my
Now if
career
you
up again.
skyrocket, I think I get 20%.
Yeah.
We'll discuss that later.
Nice. Yeah.
That's funny.
You're at least due a couple of coins. Absolutely.
I know. She's gonna make a profit now. She'll be the new Chris Jenner.
Yes. So what were you doing tonight before Renee totally interrupted you?
To be honest, I was playing League of Legends.
Ooh,
She's
she's
a
a gamer.
She is a gamer.
We love that. Do you stream?
No, I used to.
Oh, you used to. Why'd you stop?
School got way.
She didn't know she was going to be interviewed.
She's like, no, I like brushed up my hair. My face is like red from like staring at a screen for hours. So yeah.
You don't see any red.
Yeah, you look great. You look good.
You look great. Oh man, awesome.
Guys, thanks for having fun.
Yes, thanks so much for popping in. I really appreciate it. Yeah. You can still have your time if you ever want to sass that.
She's returning to her home just down the doorway over there.
Yeah.
She's a
I've had enough. I'm going back to my games. Goodbye. Thank you.
Yeah.
I met y'all. We did enough. Thank you. And
that's great. My time is now exceeded. So
like, thank you. I had my time to shine.
Yeah. She's like, I'm good. I'm fine. Oh, that was so nice. I'm glad you guys got to meet her.
Oh, that was so great. Yeah, that was months in the making.
I know. It took you like a couple weeks to get me on here. It took you her 6
months. High demand she is.
I know who's a hot commodity, okay? It's not me. It's her. It's her. Yeah. That's so great. One day we'll have to get you to meet the whole fam. You're not ready.
I want to meet the whole fam. As long as your father is going to be okay with meeting me. I know he's not the biggest fan of KP.
Words for you. He's going to use his Italian hands. What? What were you talking about?
I'm not going to back you up at all either. When he sasses you, I'm going to be like, yeah, man, I can't believe you, Kyle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really mean. Listen, I'm just a guy illegally watching Big Brother Canada.
A regular guy. I love that.
That's I cannot believe that your father said that he might need a word with Kyle.
When he told me that, he's like, "Can I come on and say something?" I was like, "Absolutely not! Like, this is my fight."
Absolutely not.
Let me tell you what this man was saying at the beginning of the whole podcast. He was saying, "You would this and that," but actually, JM did tell me that John was a stand from the beginning. So, John, I gotta give you the
yes,
star, buddy.
Yes.
This first seeing it.
Yes. Oh.
Now wait a minute. Isn't there something to be said for the naysayer that turned into a diehard, right? Like I was here and I did a 180.
You know
right?
what?
That counts for something. Like, come on,
so
give
true.
me my flowers.
So I do give you your flowers as well.
Thank you. I'm doing tulip.
Yeah, no, it is true because I think that's the best. It's a really rewarding thing to hear that from fans, to be like, I could not stand you at the beginning, and then it's like to being like, your DRs were the highlight of the episode, which I still don't understand. Like, I've only seen it like halfway through the episodes, and I'm like, yeah, like my DRs were a little bit chaotic, but I was like, I guess.
But who's weren't? I mean, that's what Big Brother is.
That's how I ramble on the daily. So I was like, I'm confused, but I mean,
Kyle, you had your own renaissance of your own, you know.
I sure did.
Yes, you did. The Renaissance. That was such a good one. I have to give the team, the big guys up above, for giving me that one, because when they told me that, I was like, they're gonna make the season about me. This is my show. And then I was like, it's very much not my show. It's my show in the wrong way. But yeah, it was a good time, honestly.
That's so good. I feel like we're wrapping up, but I don't want to, because I have one more gate that I have to ask you about.
Okay. Oh
yes, that's yeah.
Yes,
oh, you're right.
I need to know about what you thought about Santana and the whole waffle-gate situation with Nico. All right, because that was a tough watch. And like, was it as tough for you as it was for us?
I honestly would never expect waffle-gate to blow up that much, okay? But
Really?
watching it in person was like, that awkward silence that can cut through, like, not even the room, but actually the whole country. Like, I think the whole country went silent for a moment when the waffle-gate happened. Like,
The country's doing a moment of silence for Anika's waffles.
I'm like, we need a minute. Yeah, a minute of silence for Anika's waffles because, Lord, listen, I thought my waffles were great. I'm gonna leave that at that. But watching their interaction when they were already kind of spewing at each other, I think there's a comment in there, which is so typical of me to try to like break the ice and lighten the mood. Of after they go at it. I'm standing there with the waffles. I'm like, well, I'm very appreciative of my waffles. I'm like, why would you say that, you dumbass? I was like, what are you doing over there? Like, honestly, that was my mood for the entire conversation. I was just like, okay, God. Like anytime people got into a bickering situation that wasn't over the game, I was like, okay, like, let's be nice, kumbaya. Like I would be doing anything to make it okay. So yeah, that blow up was like hilarious, but watching it back is hilarious. Living it in the moment, I was like, I'm never gonna eat this food. I'm not gonna eat this food ever. I love the waffles. I love everything about the waffles. Both of them, the flour and the no flour ones. I can eat them all day. Give me a plate of them. I'm fine. But yeah, that was hilarious. That was one of the funniest. That and Library Gate were like hilarious. But like when we were going through them, it was like,
yikes.
Oh, the library. Yeah, I felt so bad watching you guys trying to get into that room.
That was like another breaking straw. Imagine literally going through. This was what led to like actually my first like personal breaking point of like I actually just went to the backyard and I remember just crying just on my own by myself because I was literally like, I went through Library Gate, which we're all isolated from this, not included in this thing. Then we go into the Fatal Feast, another terrible thing. I'm left at the bottom, fighting for my life. And then it's like, and then the next day, I was like, it wasn't even that big of a point. Like, and then Cece took Nene for Wendy's the next day, and that was like my final straw. Like when you don't, I'm like, you know what? I was like, I'm gonna win this for myself. I was like, I'm gonna get this for myself, and then I'm gonna show everybody. Like I was at that point. That was like Renee at that point. So Library Gate was just, I was very unbothered with Library Gate when it first happened because there's nothing I can do. Like they're locking the door. Like I'm gonna go listen to music. So I was just kind of dancing upstairs and doing my own thing because I literally could not like any point that I could to not be stressed. I would. So that was just annoying though. I was like, dude, like this was something that was supposed to be for the whole house anyways. And I was like, you're not hiding anything. Like even if you get the power, like we know you have something. So like
so what purpose does that actually serve?
And as a fan, I just wanted to be in the room, right? And I think it's funny, like I would end up having to, because I know that Nene actually was like very affected by that, like on a personal level. And again, it's so funny how that house can bring out things like from even like your childhood or things that you've endured on the outside. And I think because I coach gymnastics with kids and I'm very adamant like with my girl group because I know how competitive sports can get amongst girls. I grew up in competitive dance and that's where I experienced bullying and it was brutal. So I try to do my best to like stop that from happening. I'm not saying that the Library Gate was bullying, but like when you see someone hurting from like the actions of somebody else, it's like I was just more on like a, I really don't agree with how you guys went about, like, I was just more of like touching on it more on a personal level of like how it affected like the people around me kind of thing. So that was the only thing annoying for me about Library Gate of how it hurt the people around me and how, it didn't feel good on my end either, but like, it wasn't anything that was going to like make or break me. Like, I think actually like the Fatal Feast was just more of like the, you know what? Screw all of you at this point, but Library Gate was only like the start cracking of that. But yeah, so I mean, wasn't it the greatest thing? No. However, I was not the one locking people out, so I can sleep at night and be like,
right,
I didn't do that. But again, that house brings out very different sides of people. None of those people, I think, are intentionally malicious. I will say that once. I will say it again. I don't. But obviously, it doesn't feel great to be on the outside. And then on top of that, we were the ones in power that week. We were. Actually, no, we hadn't had power that week, but we were it showed us how clearly we were on the outs with the rest of the house. Because even Ty was let into that door. And you know what? Hope told me that Ty busted his way into the door, which he half did, but then Hope opened it. So I was like, Hope, you're going to tell me that you're like this big and like yay muscling, you're like pumping iron every day, and you busted in that door. I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, no. But yeah,
Oh,
it was
and that was just I just still I can still remember watching that and like feeling like this is tough to watch, like
it
that they're just
feels
not
like
letting
that.
me.
I actually knew I was like, that's not gonna look great for those people. But the best that I could do, like even in any situation in life, like at that point, for me to waste my energy and get actively upset to the point that I'm like, "Ah, I hate those guys," and like just be yelling at every camera. Like I could have done that. I could have done that multiple times in the house. But you have to be very mindful and smart about your energy and conserving your energy in that house. So I was like, you know what? We probably got a big day coming, so I'm gonna go have a dance party by myself. The music player is free. The iPod is free. I'm gonna plug my earphones in. I'm gonna have a good time. So, I mean, yeah, it was very tough to live through, but at least I got some free music jams in between with no time for waiting. I just got
Oh
straight to
yeah,
the pod.
yeah. Just dance your way through it. Who cares?
Dance your way through it. You know?
Yeah.
Life's too short to be mad. You gotta be living it up. Unless you're on the block, be mad. Be mad about the block.
And then you can be mad. Yes, exactly.
You can be mad.
I agree.
You can be pissed, actually.
You can be super pissed at
You
that
can
point.
be super pissed. You can be
Pissed.
I do have one question though. Like, as a fan of the show, removing the emotion from it and removing the fact that you are actually involved in this, library gate,
yeah.
like, is there a world in which you could exist where you might maybe understand a little bit of that behavior? Like, because as a fan, I understand the emotional end to it and why it's personally offensive, but I also, from a game perspective, could not imagine letting somebody who is working against me, because at the end of the day, we are playing a game. Like, what if I did let somebody in here and I was in here searching for whatever this advantage is, whatever this clue thing is? I've been searching for however long it has been, and I let somebody else in and they find it like this. I would never forgive myself.
No, that's the thing. And that's the only thing. Like, listen, when I see something that somebody does that I don't like, the first thing I do is I'm like, okay, why are they doing this and for what purpose? And
Right. Let me put myself in that person's position.
I do that like almost to a fault. Like I will make reasons for you of why you did your actions. But I think the trouble that we had with that quote unquote game move being done in trying to protect this power is, first of all, well, okay, actually, let me go first off. Every
Mhm.
single person was in that room, save for the girly pops.
Right.
Santina is not affiliated with you alliance wise. She was actually like never even interested in being anything alliance wise. And Ty was someone you were actively trying to get out. The girly pops were a group that was a threat to you, but Ty was actually someone you were actively trying to get out. If in a world that I wanted to, again, I wouldn't let the people that were quote unquote working against me. However, we were not working against them at that point. We were actually very, very strong to the six of taking the girls to the end. They were the ones in their own alliance. So there's that whole front of how many people they left in and who they left out, because I don't think Santina served them anything. And I think if Santina had that power, no one was convincing her how to use it. Versus the girly pops were people that you were in an alliance with. And if you're trying to, an agreement with, that we called an alliance. And we were actually very true to that multiple times throughout the game. And we sat down multiple times throughout the game. Again, you can't see this because you didn't have all of the information, but
Right.
we were in that group. So it's like, there's not a scenario where I see that even us getting the power, even if that were the case and we snagged it and we went in there and ripped it away and we took the power, it would have worked against them. That's one. But also two, with us coming into the room, there were already, how many were there in there? 1, 2, 3, 4. There were about 5, 6 people in that room already. If we had come in, which they had given us the reason that, but we told them, like, the only reason why we let them in is because that we knew that if whoever found the power, that it was going to be given to Daniel C because he was the first one in the room. And I find it very hard to believe that me, Cece, or Nene would have been opposed to doing that because there was already the majority saying we're going to give this to Daniel C. Had we come into the room, we wouldn't have been like, oh, it's ours now. Like we're just, you could see we're not that those types of players anyways. We're not that like in that sense. And also if people were already looking at it and they let us into it, we would have kept that in mind of, okay, they let it, like we play like that. I don't think the way that we played the game would have worked against them. So I think there's just like those layers to it that like made it funky for me, that I was like, if you kept Santina out, if you kept Ty out, no sweat off our back. And I don't even think the girly pops would have been that upset. But I think letting everybody in and then saying, well, but they agreed that like, you know, they would give the power to Daniel C. That's actually a disservice to you because you're showing that you don't trust us when we've actively been trying to work with you. So if there's people that shouldn't be trusting anybody, it's us that shouldn't be trusting you because we were loyal to that 6. We were very loyal to that 6.
Yeah.
We got CC to put up Ty on the block. Ty, like CC didn't just put up Ty on the block. Even after they did Library Gate, CC put Ty up on the block. So it's like we showed our loyalty time and time again, I find, in those circumstances. We did know that something bigger was in the works with them. Did we know it was the crown, quote unquote? No. But it definitely didn't. I think it actually hurt their game more than it helped them because it was just as revealing, if not even more revealing than the POV with Johnny, right? With the whole reaction with Johnny.
Right.
So I think, I don't know. I think as a game point, I could totally understand. I'm not going to let a certain person in, but Ty was in that room and Santina was in that room. And
it doesn't really make any sense.
No one wanted to work with them. So like, or sorry, not no one wanted to work with them, but people, they were on the outs of those alliances.
Absolutely.
So I think that's where it becomes like tricky. But then again, I really think of like, I hammer out every detail like that. Obviously maybe they weren't thinking of it like that. Maybe they weren't thinking like, oh, just them were left out, but they were in the library for so long that at some point it's like, okay, like we only have 3 of them outside. What's that going to do for us? It was kind of more coming back and being like, you know, we were just lost in the sauce, and that's rightfully so too. Maybe you were, but it doesn't feel great and doesn't take away from that. And also, I don't think it really helped your game that much because even at the end of it, I even knew as a fan point that it being that big of a thing that was going on in there, that it couldn't, to me, it couldn't have been a secret power because usually secret powers are supposed to be secret. So like if you're making a big hoop on, the books are flying off the shelves, it's not so secret anymore.
Not that much of a secret, right?
And if X amount of people are involved, it's just those things that I feel like just didn't come up because they're in the heat of the moment. And I'm like, it can't be a secret power. And I was like, and on top of that, now you look extra goofy because it was something that was supposed to be built with everybody. And now you left it, you showed your cards, you showed that you didn't trust us. I was like, how does this help your game at all? To me, just even on a game front, it just didn't make any sense. So
didn't make any sense.
I feel like I remember at some point seeing like they had so many like books and pages like laid out on that pool table to like figure out what this riddle was or whatever. And I was like, you have to sit back and think at some point, like there is no way that one person could have gotten this done by themselves without someone else walking in. Like this is clearly not an individual thing. Like
this isn't it was no way. And then even like we had already, first of all, like we even had the invisible week. So we had like already the secret power twist. Like, yeah, maybe there could have been like something else, like an edge to the game. But it's like, regardless, all of y'all are in the room, and 2 of those people in that room with the other 4 like have no ties or loyalty to the so you're already working at an odds already. If it is an odds, like you think Ty and Santina, if they get their hands on the individual power, that they're going to sit there and be like, Daniel C came into the room first. Again, maybe they would, but I think I would argue that the girly pops would be more likely to be like, no, you actually did come in here first, because that was just how we were playing at that point. Like, I find it very hard, even specifically with Nene, that she would go in there and find that and not be like, oh no, like Nene wears her heart on her sleeve and she does everything out of the goodness of her heart. And like, even she played that game, like with emotions as well, like involved in it. So I find it very hard to believe, even with her, Nene was closer to Daniel and me, and Nene, Cece, Daniel and Anika had the Final Four or had started talking about a Final Four alliance at that point. So just nothing of it game wise made sense. Yeah. So I'm like, At first,
Whatever.
I was kind of grateful that they just didn't leave me out of it because I was like, they're just only going to leave me and they're going to let the girls in and then I'm just going to be like out here. But I was like, at least, strength in numbers. We're out here together. So I, again, no hard feelings. Anything that was said or done in that house, I really truthfully, like from the bottom of my heart, I'm at peace with it and I don't have ill feelings towards it. Obviously you're processing things outside of that house and you're like, oh, I didn't love that and I didn't feel great, but like, you know what?
Okay.
It brings out, that game brings things outside of you, and it actually takes a lot more strength to not react in those ways than it does to just react.
For sure.
So that's why I just resorted to trying to react as little as possible and seeming as unbothered as possible, even though I was fuming out the hoo-ha every 2 seconds with like everything that was happening in that house.
I feel like you more than anyone else like had to deal with the amount of times you were on the block and everything. So I think it's definitely
block bruises. Every physical comp you could ask of, like people would be like, oh, like like I want to stay out of, I don't want to rock the boat. I'm like, lucky that you have a choice. Like I don't. They're putting out regardless. I'm tired, but I'm still going. But
I think you played a great game though. You were a lot of fun to watch, and I thought you carried yourself very well the whole time that you were in there. So, which I'm sure is a very hard thing to do in front of all those cameras and everything. So
it's so hard, but thank you. That means honestly the world. Like I was hoping I could push through a little farther than the 5, but I'm grateful for the 5, and I'm glad to hear feedback.
5 is far.
5 is far, considering she didn't think she was making it out of week 1. Honestly, I really didn't. I was like, ooh.
Dead last.
Oh, dead last hurt. And you know what? Thank goodness that didn't continue, because separate up that ball competition where we were going down the slides, I was also dead last. So didn't help. I was dead last even. I couldn't even pull off a prank, okay? I was like, I was flopping and failing in that house. But, we fought through. We pushed through.
You absolutely did. Top 5 is far. You deserve many flowers for that. So we know you're going to law school, obviously, after this. Like, so what other reality TV shows might you be interested in if propositioned?
Okay, so it's hard because I'm not saying this to sound facetious, but my schedule is always very, very booked. Right when I'm, it's literally like one thing after the next. This was the first year I had off of school ever since like whatever.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
I mean, it would be hard for me to get back into a reality show. However, because I've already got a little bit of my addiction filled with like reality TV, I feel like I would do Big Brother again if the opportunity presented itself. I feel like I would want to play completely differently. I would want to try to be a bit more like open and aggressive and a little bit, I don't know, don't want to say exactly what I would do, but I feel like I would play like a complete 180 to how I played. Minus, I could very well still be failing depending on the comms, but maybe they'll be a little bit more trivia based and I can pull through over there. But I would definitely consider Big Brother. I think the only other one that I'm not that very well versed in like reality TV game shows, but I do like The Mole. I think I would maybe.
We love The Mole.
Yeah, I think that would be fun for me to do. I don't know too much about it, to be honest. I'd have to like binge it a bit more. But other than that,
have you seen The Traitors?
What?
Have you seen The Traitors?
No.
Whew. Oh, it is such a good show. Really? You'd be great at it, actually. They did a US version, and a UK version, and an Australian version. I think they're going to do a version in Canada, actually.
Wait, I thought I read that too.
I'm going to apply them. Wait, what's the premise of like, give me the...
It actually, I think that they kind of like did your season of Big Brother, like kind of like inspired by The Traitors a little bit with the Big Brother manner. Even like the Fatal Feast table looks very similar to a table they use in The Traitors.
Oh, really?
And it's basically like they have like, depending on the version of it, they either have, I think it's 22 or 24 players. everyone walks into the house. They're all there. They know they're playing a game called the Traitors, but they don't really know who the traitors are or anything yet because they haven't even been chosen yet. Like the host will come in, they all sit around this table, they have to put on their blindfolds or whatever, and the host right there will tap the shoulder of like 4 traitors. And then everyone takes their blindfolds off, and now you know that the traitors have been chosen, but it's either these small group of like, 3 or 4 traitors, and then everybody else is the faithful. And the faithful has to try to find out who the traitors are. And the traitors each night,
every week.
so like they'll do like a vote thing where the faithful tries to guess who the traitors are and try to vote them out. And for as long as the traitors are in the game, they can actually like murder the faithful. Like overnight, somebody just won't come to breakfast the next day because they've been eliminated from the game and stuff. And they have like challenges where you can like earn money at the end. And like, depending on like if the faithfuls win, they share the pot, or the traitor, if they can get rid of all the faithful and the other traitors, then the one traitor that's left standing can take all of the money. Like it's really wild.
Okay,
It's
wait,
really wild.
that's where I feel like my paranoia would run rampant high. That's when, if I knew, it would be just my luck that the first night I sleep in that dang house, a traitor freaking murders me. Okay, I better be one of the traitors in that game. But that sounds insane. I would audition, or I would try going for something like that. Honestly, anything that has the social strategy side of it, I'm very much into, and I really do like doing the competitions. I just unfortunately sucked at them this year or whatever. So I think like anything with the strategy that I can sit down and you have alliances, you're moving forward, or something like that, I really, really, really like. Even if I played it individually, I mean, I practically was like pushing through on my own over there at some point. So whatever.
We'll have to send you. We'll send you more info on the traitors.
Yeah, I would be,
Right.
that I would do. I would never honestly do like a dating show or anything. That's not, my cup of tea. That's not my thing, but all the power to anyone that doesn't. No hate, no shame. But I would do like something like that, or my own reality TV show because I'm narcissistic.
There you go.
We would love to
Give me
see you
more
on your own
Mior.
show. Get out of here.
You know what? I'm writing that down because that might be a good podcast name or my YouTube channel name.
Oh,
Come on now. Come on now.
Should I check for you? Should I cut my check for you now or later? That's what
You heard it here first. You heard it here first.
The first one's on the house. The first one's on the house.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I need it. Your girl needs it. She's going to law school. She's got some bills to pay.
Yeah.
But because of that is exactly why you would be good on the Traitors, because there's so many games involved in this game, because ideally if you're selected as a traitor, you want to get to the game, you want to get to the end of the game by yourself, right? Because if there's a traitor left, they take what is left in the entire team bank, right? So everybody is playing these challenges to add money to the bank, but if a traitor makes it to the end, they keep it all. If the faithful make it to the end, like they split it, right? So the traitors, while you're working together, and there's like 3 or 4 of you working together, right? You also want to make sure they go. So there's a game within a game, because the public vote. So when you're sitting down to now discuss who you want to vote out because you think they're a traitor, that vote is public. Okay, so you have to actually say out loud to everybody around the table who you're voting for and why. And so this creates a lot of discussion. So if Renee is a traitor and she wants John out because he's a traitor too, and I want you to get the hell out of here so I make the money for myself, you now have to state your reason why you're voting for John. And if John doesn't go, you're going to see him later that night when all the traitors meet to discuss who they want to murder of the faithful. So there are so many games at play.
Together, the traitors have to come together as a collective to decide who they want to murder.
Who to murder?
Yes, yes, and that happens after the elimination public vote.
Okay, wait, this is hilarious. You're gonna laugh because we did play a game in the house that is this game, but it's a children's game or a elementary school game, whatever.
Well, what is it called?
I believe we had to change the name to Wolves. I think it's called Wolves or something like that. But basically, you have 3 or 4 murderers. And so at night, all of the townspeople, they go to bed. So everybody has a character in this Wolves game. So like you could be just make it up. I own a flower shop. Oh, I shine shoes. Everybody goes to sleep and they say, okay, so there's one wolf hunter. The only difference is there's a wolf hunter and then there's like the wolves. So they say there's someone narrating the whole game. So they would be the host. They say the wolves wake up and they're like, who do you want to murder? And all together we have to like silently point to a person that we want to murder. And then they make all of us go back to bed. And they say, okay, everybody wake up. And they're like, okay, so last night so-and-so was murdered and like this and that. And then they all have to have a discussion. All the peasant or the not peasants, well, townspeople have to decide who the murderers are or who the whatever the wolves are. So we did play a round of that in the house, and I did actually win that round.
Oh, you see now? Okay. You see now?
No, but that's insane. But it's funny though, because in that game, I feel like it's a very tricky line because you want the traders to get knocked out so you can collect the pot at the end, but you don't want them to get knocked out too early, or else you might look more suspect. So it's very interesting. So I think honestly, if they made a Canadian one, or maybe if they let me go on the US one, maybe I would do something like that. I love those types of games. Those ones.
Yeah, you'd be fantastic on that, especially because you're going into law school, and that is like so much of what you do. Like that's so much of your training already. Like you're
honestly, even hearing earlier about like the fact that people saw you as a threat because of like your speeches and how persuasive you could be, like that's what you have to do in the traders.
That was hilarious to me though, because I do talk a lot. As you guys see, I ramble a lot. She's got a mouth. My parents will be the first ones to tell you. But I've always actually been, I developed actually like public speaking anxiety for a while. So even doing the speeches was like, it got to a point that I was like, I had to completely kind of like turn that out because I always want to work on it. I like to confront my fears head on. So having to do that with like literally the only thing I was saying in my head was like maybe like I was like I just want to stay a few weeks off the block just so that there's less people to speak in front of, things like that. No, I was dead last. The world said you're conquering it, girl. So I think it was funny to me because I would black out for those speeches and I didn't think they were that great because I'm used to doing them at a certain like caliber and I'm very, very particular with how I speak, and I like to have it written down on my laptop and I'm memorizing it 24/7. Like there's nothing. So it's like I was like, I had to write it in my head, memorize it in my head, study it in my head, and then just hope for the best when it actually came on to the live eviction nights, because I would always make it to live eviction nights in case you guys didn't know. It's funny that people came out like later in the game and said, oh, like they would say your speeches are amazing. And even when I came off the show, oh, your speeches are amazing. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, but thank you.
Oh, thank you.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I love that. That is so awesome. Listen, thank you so much for joining us tonight. How can anyone listening or watching find you? Where can they find you in the socials? Tell us.
Yeah, so Instagram is my main go-to thing that I'm always posting on. That's
she loves it.
Yeah, I'm a big Instagram girly. So that's just RENEE MIOR, and then I believe my Twitter is Renee BBkin 11. I think it's still that. I'm not sure it's still that. But yeah, and then what's coming in the works is my YouTube. So stay tuned for that on my Instagram. We're gonna get some fun stuff, some fun content for the summer, hopefully.
That's fantastic. Do you plan to watch Big Brother 25?
Okay, don't hate me, but I've never watched a season of Big Brother US, so I know. I've just been a Canadian fan, but my twin sister loves the US one. Like she watched the US one, and I would watch the Canadian one, and then like now we're kind of swapping. But I'm very interested to maybe like watch BBUS, and then I even want to talk about it too. I love talking like strategy. I want to see how different BBUS is, because I know that they're a little bit more unfiltered, and like the comps are different, and like the layout and things like that. So I'm very interested to watch it. So I will definitely start getting in tune with it, and I'm excited to see. I think I just heard the cast just got dropped, or like revealed on the website.
If it did, we missed it. I did not see that.
I know the Challenge USA 2 cast just got dropped. I don't know.
Oh, I thought I saw something BB. It's the 25th season, right?
It is the 25th season. We do have an anniversary special coming up.
That's right.
Yeah, that's like next week. Yeah, we're super excited about that. Can't wait to see how we're celebrating our Big Brother. But if you're going to be watching Big Brother 25, I will tell you that we are live every eviction night. That's every Thursday. And like you have an open invitation. Just come back and just chat strat with us. We would love to have you back. I would love to know your opinion on the season ongoing, like as a fan, not just as a player. I think we would have so much fun talking about that.
I love to talk. I love talking about the game and stuff. So even learning it, I was like, I'm sure it's pretty much the same, but even seeing how the US does it, I'd love to come on and chat with you guys some more.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And if your sister is interested in coming too, you said she likes to watch, Big Brother US as well. Like, I mean, she's welcome too. Like, let's have the whole Mior family on.
Yeah, let's get them as
Even Papa Mior, who can't stand me. Let's have him on. Let's see what he thinks of the goings ons.
I'm like, woo. You're really getting some good tea there, right? But yeah, I would love to, honestly. Thank you again. I have to say, I know I've again been talking the most, but you guys having me on and having the kindest things to say and like this environment, I'm just obsessed. This was so much fun. And I'm just so honored you guys wanted to have me on. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh my God. We're so grateful. So grateful to you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. And like, honestly, not to be understated, like, listen, we're a small podcast and everything, but like, we also don't talk to people we don't want to talk to. Like, we don't just randomly just send emails to people like, oh, please just come on. Like, no, if we don't want to talk to you, we're not going to talk to you. Like,
I think that's
because we really just want this to be fun, and we just knew that you would be. And like, yeah, this was such a blast.
When we talked to John Michael, he was like, so who else do you guys want to talk to? And I was like, Renee, I want to talk to Renee.
He's like, I love Renee. And I was like, oh, well, thank God, because we love Renee too.
Oh my God, I love you guys. It's on it. Like, I feel like this has been so comfortable. And it's like I'm talking to like my two besties over here. So it's been honestly a great experience. I just love it. And thank you.
That's
letting a space to ramble. Oh my goodness.
But it wasn't rambling though. Like, we love to talk this game.
Right.
Like we just love to talk about it. I tell my mother all the time, like, I can talk about this game for hours. Like, I love Big Brother, and I want to talk about people who love it as much.
Yeah. And I think everybody brings like different perspectives to it. And I think the one thing I craved while I was watching the show was having more people who watched the show. Because in my friend group, it really was me and my one friend that really avidly watched it. And then I would try to get my other friends like to watch it here and there. But to have some people to talk about it who like actually see the strategy aspect and, oh, how could they have done this and do that? I can ramble on and on about that. And I think now, like, having both sides of it, I can sympathize with it a bit differently too, and be like, okay, maybe that's why they played that move that way.
Right.
But yeah, that would be so much fun if you guys would have me back. I'd love to.
Oh, please, of course.
I feel like we're already friends. Like, Kyle and I, before you even got here, was like, Kyle was like, we'll see, how long she wants to talk. Maybe it'll be 45 minutes, an hour, because we know that you're busy and you get asked about this stuff all the time. And it's like, so it's funny to like, to sit here and we've been talking for over 2 hours, and it's like, it doesn't feel like that long. It just feels like we've just been hanging out chatting. So you're the best.
Literally, it's bad. Like, guys, if we got the drinks like flowing in New York over there, we'd be out like till the sunshine.
We'd be out all night. So would be out all night. And like, it's
that's how I know this is gonna be a blooming friendship, guys. Hit me up whenever. It's gonna be so much fun.
Yes, I love that so much. I remember before the stream started, I said, oh my gosh, I was like, John, I don't have any questions lined up. It's like, she keeps saying this is an interview. I have nothing specific that I want to ask her. I was like, I just want to talk to her. And I was like, so I'm like, hopefully we make it to 45 minutes. I was like, because I don't want this to be a flopper. Like,
yeah, there's one thing, the conversation, like as you can see, I was like, where are we again? What am I talking about? But I love having conversation. I babble on so long. So I'm glad that you guys matched the energy and we were able to talk for so long. It honestly is so much fun.
Yeah, no, this is an absolute blast. I really can't thank you enough for taking some time out of your busy life just to sit down and talk to us Americans. Like, honestly, like, thank you.
This Canadian here. Oh my goodness. I feel like you guys are just in the States over there in New York, living up your best lives. I'm like, they want to talk to little old me here and like.
That's literally, it's the best part of our day.
We tuned in live to watch every Canadian episode. Like, what do you mean? Like, we were like so excited. Are you kidding? This was our whole thing.
So
like,
have you watched multiple seasons like before this season or for?
Was it? Well, we watched BB Can 10.
I watched 10 and then 11.
I watched 1 and I watched most of season 2. Unfortunately, if you remember in BB Can 10, they were basically spoiling every winner with their Wendy's visits.
Oh, yes.
And I was so mad. So like, John and Gina would be watching, like, somebody's going to Wendy's. I'm turning it off. Let me know when the Wendy's thing is over, because I want to watch these seasons and I don't want to be spoiled. I did also watch season 8.
Okay.
Oh
Season
yeah,
one-
Failed
COVID season.
COVID version.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
that's
actually brought me to tears. That was hard to watch.
Yeah, you know what? As a fan, I didn't that one for some reason, and I don't think it's to a fault of anybody. I just couldn't. That was the first season I couldn't really get that much into in terms of like the first few episodes. Just nothing like it was rolling, but I couldn't see where it was, and it was like an interesting cast mix to me. I don't know what didn't click for me, but then when the show got cut short, like I really like panned away, so I don't remember that season entirely. But I will say, if you do get the chance, one of my favorite seasons of the BB Can franchise is season 7. Also, 3 and 5 are phenomenal. 3 and 5 are amazing. But season 7, I don't know what it was about that season. It was so good. So good. I don't know what it was. It was like the alliances. I have like a soft spot for Dane. I don't know why. Like he's one of the players of the season. I thought he played a really insane but great game. Like definitely not a way I could like pull off like with like the lies and stuff like that. But I don't know, for some reason that season like really stuck with me. And I talked about it a lot in the house and they're like, that no, like what? Like what are you talking about? I love that season, okay? No hate.
That's so funny. Would you ever be down for like a legacy watch or something like that?
Oh,
Like
no,
I'd be interested, like maybe when you're in law school and like you're a little busy, but it's something you're sort of familiar with. Like maybe we can all like watch it together and like we
I
can
would
just like
love
recap
to.
that because like these BB Can seasons, like we've only seen a couple.
I am
So
not working. This is like the first, like going into law school, this is the first time I'm not like working part-time as I'm in school. So I'm sure I won't, but I'm gonna make it an effort to have my free time and like my decompressors. And I would love to ramble and argue about game strategies with you guys. I'd be like, look at what they did over here. And
that would be so much fun. We'll
That would
definitely have to
Oh
talk
my
about that
God,
offline
yeah.
in a little bit because
That'd
that
be
really would be a
amazing.
lot of fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited. But now that BBUS 25, I'm gonna get into it for the first time. I think you guys have inspired me. I think that's gonna be my next move.
Oh,
Yeah,
please do.
definitely get into it. We want you to know Julie Chan.
I know. I'm gonna like hit them up. I probably am gonna get so invested that I'm gonna be like, listen, I'm from BB Can 11, okay? Like literally, like I'm gonna be
No,
like,
it means something. Top 5.
let me in.
Yes,
Yeah, hell yeah.
absolutely.
We're going to a big premiere event for BB 25
Isn't
in
it
New York
the one in
City.
New York, right? It's in
The House Chops, yeah.
Yeah,
With a bunch of the cast from BB 24, including the winner, and a bunch of the cast from BB 23, like the cookout members and stuff.
Is 24 Taylor Hale? Is that the winner?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Okay,
yes,
I've heard a lot about her, and I've heard only good things. I don't know what she looks like. I don't know what. I know nothing about the BBUS franchise, but I heard she was underestimated, and she was always like kind of isolated and outcasted, and she pulled out the win at the end. So I'm like, you know what? I'm riding for you, girl. I don't even know you, but I already respect it.
That's right.
Honestly, she was more than an outcast. She was like downright bullied in the beginning.
She was
she was bullied so bad that like, we started this whole podcast literally just to talk about Big Brother. Like now we've gotten into other things where we only wanted to talk about Big Brother. And the way that she was treated in the beginning of this season was enough to make us think that we didn't want to cover it. Like we were like, this is like very uncomfortable. Like, I don't even want to talk about this. Like, this is horrible to look at. It was so painful.
Like bullying from the other castmates just in the house.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, it was horrible. Yeah. And the worst part about it is that like a lot of it was edited out.
No.
Like, so when you watch the actual episodes, like you didn't see a lot of that stuff until an alliance was formed to work against it.
Really?
But yeah, in the beginning of it, like you only saw those things if you were watching the feeds.
It was tough. Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't even know if I saw that happening firsthand or whatever as it was happening. As you can tell, I'm very like passionate with that space and like how to talk. I think even though it's a game and people say it's a game, I think that's a little bit of a cop out sometimes. We're humans and there's a way to speak to other humans when you're interacting with them. You can be heated, maybe something will slip out, a swear word or this or that, but depending on how you talk to a person. So you know what? I'm even happier that she won then. You know what?
Right. That's how we felt. That's exactly how we felt.
Yeah. This is if you're planning to watch BB 25 and you want to do a quick little, I mean, we're getting close now to BB 25, but if you're interested in checking BB 24 out before it starts, I mean, to think about where that season started and where it ended is unreal.
Yeah.
I'm so because you know what, I heard a lot of hype and talk about her on Twitter just by name. I again don't
Right.
know anything of what she looks like, but I did hear that her time in the house was a rough one, and it was exceptionally rough, but I didn't know for what reasons.
Yeah.
So I think like hearing that she won at the end, because Daniel C actually had mentioned something of the sorts of like, you know, she struggled a lot in the house and she ended up coming out with a win or whatever. And because I think he was considering that narrative in the final two of like even us going to the final and things like that. So he was like, yeah, no, like this, you know, like people like outcasted her or something like that. So I'm
Mhm.
even more interested to see, because knowing even that she's coming to the end, like it has a full circle moment. She
Right.
takes the victory on it. But I have a question. So 2 questions about BBUS, just so that I know
Sure.
what I'm getting myself into. How many episodes per season?
It varies, but we definitely do 3 a week, just like you do.
But episodes for like BBUS does 3 a week.
Yeah, we also
3 a
do
week,
3 a
yeah.
week.
So,
Yeah.
but they go on for longer than we do. Do they? Like
Generally,
Not
it
necessarily, as long
depends.
as we don't have as many self evictions as you guys did. But otherwise, like, no, I
Yeah.
guess it would be about the same because the
it's
cast
about
is
the
the
same.
same.
So 9, and then also at the end, so for final two, a final two comes out and then jury votes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're pre-jury in US.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a pre-jury.
Okay, so it's okay. All very
Yeah,
similar.
it's basically, I feel like Canada follows like what is supposed to be our format.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
But
like
you,
we have certain comps that are like kind of like, traditional to us, just like you
Yeah.
guys have, your comps.
Yeah.
I
Well,
actually
yeah.
think, other than like the classic comps that we have in BBUS, I actually think a lot of the comps in BB Canada are a lot better than the stuff.
Okay, so
that we do.
funny.
Basically all of them. The only reason we like ours is because they're nostalgic. They're not actually better.
It's hilarious that you say that, because that was literally the only thing I was going to say that I know about BBUS, because when I was a fan, well, I'm still a fan, but last season when I was watching as a fan, I got onto Derek and Cody's podcast on YouTube.
Oh yeah,
Winner
the Winner
Circle.
Circle, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I would just play that in the background just because I really enjoyed listening to like a more technical breakdown of the game.
Mhm.
Two winners too as well who have like gone through it, and
Right.
they time and time, I believe it was Cody that was, or no, sorry, it was Derek that was saying like the BB Can comps are the best, like production wise, like he felt that like he
A lot of
loved
sponsors too. Kyle loves a sponsored comp.
Oh,
Oh,
I love a cheesy sponsored comp. Yes, Britta. Yes, Be Direct Insurance.
The shark one put me, I was looking cute in my little Britney suit, but like, man, I was sweating in that one. My goodness. Yeah. You know what? It was so funny because I had a love-hate relationship with the sponsored ones, because I loved the sponsored ones, but it would make me even more pissed because I was like, the chances of me pulling this off and getting the 5K. But I was a little delulu in that house. I would go into those comps being like, I'm gonna beat him. I'm gonna beat him. Like I would go up against time, like, I'm wiping the floor with him. Like that's the mentality I genuinely had going into those comps. Like I'm gonna come out with this win, and like it's gonna be nobody's business, like whatever. And sure enough, I did that mentality with the very first slop comp. So like me and Ty were actually getting changed in the same room, a little tidbit. And so we were like, nothing weird there. So we were getting changed, and then he's like all dressed and he's like pumping his chest. And I don't even know him that well yet, right? So he's like, yeah, I'm going, bro. Like I'm getting it. And I was like looking at him, right? And I don't know him well enough, and I'm like dying already, right? Like, I just went through like 2 parts of competition, okay? And I had to embarrass myself by putting a backwards hedge in front of 20 people already. So I'm like, I'm not doing well. But
The head.
like pump his chest, and I'm standing there. I was like, yeah, like I'm gonna do it too, like whatever. I went out and I very much did not do it. I actually let me just say one thing, and I will give this credit to Daniel C, because he was the one that phrased it like this. In that slop comp, there were 2 people competing and there were 3 people fighting for their lives, and you could just do the math on how the comp looks. It was Dan and Ty competing for the win, and it was me and Nika and Daniel C praying we didn't die on those alleyways, okay? Like we were just be lying there at one point, like crazy. But yeah, so
Oh my god!
Whatever.
Can I tell you?
That's
that competition with the hedges because one of the hedges you had was backwards, right? Like it was facing the wrong way. Like I was watching, like the camera kept like panning to it, and like in my head there was just like this very sad like violin playing, and I was like, "Oh, poor Renee." It's like in my brain, I was just hearing like the saddest song. I was like, "Please turn it around, Renee. Turn it around."
But you know what was crazy? I had to walk up the dang ladder to realize it was backwards. I was like, but imagine you're competing for your life. You're under the stress. You walk up with that ball and you look down and you're like, it's not going into the crown. You know that, but I still have the ball here. So they're all like, out of pity. The cast was like, just throw it, just roll it down anyways. So I had to watch a ball roll down. Okay. And then you know what was terrible is like, I was in the DR and then there was like, you know, they're like asking me whatever about the comp. They're like, so do balls roll like uphill? And I was like, I'm getting the dum music, I'm getting the sad parts, I'm gonna be looking like this. I was like, no. And I was like, I just gotta go with it at this point. Like that was
getting the dum music.
Walking to the top of the dang ladders and seeing my hedges aren't even, they're not even aligned, they're not even straight. Like they're not even
poor baby.
I was just so like, Renee, what are you doing to get there?
I just figured it was all strategy, throwing people off, you know? Just like, oh, look at this girl Renee, she doesn't even know how to line up hedges. You know, it was like all part of the strategy.
That's the only way I could sleep at night, because the only thing that would help me go to sleep, like genuinely close my eyes and get an hour of sleep in that house was, you know what? At least they'll think I'm not a threat. You know, there's positives to this. There are positives. I had to play that the whole time. I was Delulu in that house. I am playing it up at the point of my game. Like,
I can't say enough how much I love everything that you did in there. So
I also can't wait to use Delulu in my real life.
I am Delulu. Oh gosh.
I can't wait the first time I use it in an email. Like, I'm just gonna have so much fun. Like, where do the hyphens go? Like, I'm gonna have a really good time.
I know.
With Delulu.
I'm telling you, like, when I have to start using like my real human adult vocabulary in law school and stuff, I'm gonna be writing in an email and be like, "Sir, your client is Delulu." Like, I can't be doing that. Holy moly.
Objection, Delulu.
Objection, the witness is being
I swear, they're
Delulu.
gonna have to make a whole new court system for like the Renaissance of like how we run things over there. I don't know, man.
Oh god.
Oh god.
I love this. I love everything about what's happening.
Oh my god. So good.
So great, guys. Oh my gosh, this is so much fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, like honestly, thank you so much for joining us.
Seriously.
We're gonna run our little credits now, but you have to at least stay for another 3 minutes or so for what we call parking lot chatter.
Yeah, it's for
okay?
a proper goodbye. You know?
Yeah, you don't scoot out just because the other people are uninvited. Like we're gonna have our extra 90 seconds or so.
Of course, put me on for a little longer, please.
Oh, absolutely. No. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
Is there anything
you,
else
Renee.
you want to say to our people before we close out?
No, just thank you so much for having me, giving me a platform to kind of chat it out with you guys and talk game, talk life, talk everything, and letting me ramble and come back around and wrap it up. And it's been such a great time. And I hope you guys flourish with your podcast and everything that you want to do in life. And it was so nice talking to you.
Thank you. It's just the best hobby in the world. Getting to have these conversations with people like you. This is what makes it worth it. So yeah, let's thank you. Thank you. And that is not a Delulu thought.
Oh, thank you.
There it is. There it is. My first time.
It's already coming in.
There it is. There it is.
Imagine if I said that on the show. I'm like, Santina is Delulu with what she's doing.
Delulu is like the next bootay. It's the next piss.
Let's
Like,
Let's get it going.
Delulu is going global.
I again never used that in my regular life. It just started coming out recently, so you caught me at a good time.
Thank God for it. Thank God we were here. Caught. We love it. Thank you so much.
No problem.